Hi, this is Sarah.
And this is Rachel.
And this is the Rippah Diaries, a podcast where we rip apart episode by episode the Vampire Diaries. Warning, this is a rewatch podcast. We always find a way to bring in spoilers.
There will be so much to spoil in this episode because this week we're talking about Season 3, Episode 14, Dangerous Liaisons. I don't think we need any more introduction. You already know. This episode's iconic.
It's so iconic. This is like one of the episodes that when you start a rewatch of the Vampire Diaries or you start a podcast about the Vampire Diaries, it's one that you're waiting for. Like you
definitely.
It's easily in the top 10 most memorable episodes ever in the Vampire Diaries. You know it's iconic because even Legacies did like some tie-ins and some nods to this episode. So it's just like one of those things that's so prevalent in TVDU, and
it's so iconic memorable. That I haven't even gotten to that part in Legacies, but I know the references in Legacies. That's how iconic it is.
It's just I don't know, it's hard to describe the impact of this episode on TVD, on me personally.
I was gonna say it changed me forever, like irreparably.
It really is. We're gonna have so much to say. So
we'll just get into it. Just get into it.
Starting off, the last episode was the besties. That's exactly what I was gonna say. Is the last episode was so dramatic and traumatic as usual, and so in this episode we start off sort of where that story had ended with, of course, Alaric. Elaine had to kill Alaric. And so now we're seeing Matt and Elena at the hospital together. It's nighttime now. Clearly, Matt and Elena have just taken Alaric to the hospital after everything that happened. Mm-hmm. We know he's been having issues with not really like healing right after getting killed.
And taking a long time to come back.
So clearly they had to like get him checked in after the incidents of what happened. And clearly Elena had a hard time getting him to like even agree to go to the hospital or to stay there because she says he's resigned to spending the night in observation so long as I promise to change the lock on the house, which is so funny. And again, reminding us that they think somebody broke into the house and did this. They don't really know who, which is what they say next about like kind of checking in on all of their friends. Bonnie and her mom are okay. Caroline's holding it together after her dad literally died in the last episode, which is crazy. And they start speculating about like who is even behind these attacks. And they say that Liz doesn't even have any suspects. Like, Meredith was the only suspect last episode, and she got completely like cleared.
She was in surgery.
So they just have no clue at this point. And then throughout this whole conversation, we're seeing these little POV shots, clearly indicating that someone's in like one of the other rooms, like watching them, and you even see sort of like a figure watching them, like creepy. The music, of course. And we see Matt and Elena exit the hospital. They go out into the parking lot, and Elena asks Matt like how he's dealing with like being dragged into all of this. And Matt says, honestly, I'm kind of lucky. The only thing that I have to worry about for tomorrow is showing up for my shift at the grill.
You thought. So you thought.
Well, I was going to say, I feel like that's really underselling it. True. Matt has bills to pay. Matt has a mortgage.
Literally, he's running his own family. He's
a single mom who works 2 jobs. He loves his kids
all for himself.
Never stops. All by himself. Like, Matt, I was like, I don't know, buddy. I feel like you're really underselling yourself that all you have to worry about is going to the grill.
He definitely is.
A lifetime of responsibilities, but okay.
Yeah, he definitely is.
But anyway, Elena thanks him, and he's like telling her to get home safe. And they go to their separate cars and get in. Matt like reverses out and just leaves.
Yeah, why is no one taking her home and staying with her?
Yeah,
the attack was like an hour ago. The person could still be in the house.
That's so true. I never thought about that.
I was like, Matt, what? Stay with her.
Well, I was distracted because I was confused about why they even drove separately to the hospital. Because also,
I don't know.
I think he had walked her home from Caroline's.
He did, yeah.
So how did he get his truck? I don't know. I thought the whole situation was kind of funny
odd.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But so he leaves, which also Matt lives alone. Why can't he just move into the Elena Alaric household at this point? Take Jeremy's room.
Yeah, honestly.
Anyway, so he leaves, and Elena's like waving to him in her car, and she starts her car, and she starts to reverse out when suddenly she very heavily like backs into something, like so clearly. And she's obviously immediately stops driving and is like, what?
Yeah.
And she's obviously scared and confused because, I don't know, hitting something seems bad.
Scary.
Especially when you're in a parking lot and saw there was nothing there. So
especially when you're Elena.
That's true.
Has an incident in a car once a week.
That's so true. So, of course, she immediately gets out, goes to the back, and checks, and nothing is there.
Yeah.
Nothing, that she could have hit. Elena always has to live her life like she's in a horror movie.
Always.
Like, literally, unfortunately, her life is Scream or a Scary Movie or something.
Yeah, pretty much.
And if I were Elena at this point, I would have that reverse backup camera. She should be investing the money and having, like, the highest tech cars she can.
She definitely should be.
She has to buy them so frequently, I suppose it's not worth it.
Yeah, it's not really. Yeah, that's true.
But anyway, of course, the source of the crash, Rebecca, suddenly appears right in front of Elena and says, "Drive much?" Which was just the funniest thing as a comment there.
It was good.
And she immediately grabs Elena and pushes her against the car. Rebecca, obviously pissed because this is the first time seeing Elena since she daggered her right
in
before
the back.
homecoming. Yeah, in the back right before homecoming. And she says, "Surprised you drove a dagger through my back, Elena. It hurt."
Yep.
And Rebecca goes to try to bite Elena, and Elena's like screaming when suddenly Elijah rushes in and he grabs Rebecca and holds her against the car by her throat. And Rebecca says his name, all surprised that he's there. And he tells Rebecca to leave. And he releases his grip on her. And she kind of like steps forward towards him. Yeah. And he says, "Are you challenging me?" Which I just thought was so perfect. Like you really think you can stand up to me?
Come on.
And Rebecca just says, "You're pathetic, both of you." And then she disappears. And Elijah just turns to Elena with a smile on his face and says, "Well, I believe we have some catching up to do."
I love him. I love them.
Yeah.
His smile was so genuine when he like turned to look at her for the first time. I was like, these two.
I know. I was thinking that. I love his smile towards her. Like, yeah, he looks actually glad to see her. And she kind of looks glad to see him too. Which obviously she's relieved she didn't get killed by Rebecca right there.
Of course.
But of course, also the relief, I think, that it is Elijah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just love them. I love the originals, so this episode's already hitting for me. Like,
I know.
I love Rebecca's ponytail. She looks so good.
She looked really good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I really like it. And I just obviously love Elijah and Elena reunited. It's so good.
Yeah. And it honestly only gets better. Not so much this scene is a little next scene, whatever, but it gets so good. But anyway. We see the next morning, Elena, Stefan, and Damon are talking in the kitchen of the Gilbert house. And Elena is relaying whatever she and Elijah had talked about the night before, which is that it was Esther in the coffin and she was what was sealed in there. And now she's gone out. She's met up with the originals and she wants to live in peace with her family, including Klaus. And like Stefan and Damon are both like, wait, what? Like, she was our one weapon against Klaus. Like, now we're screwed. Like, the only thing keeping him at bay was Esther being in that box and them having her. And Damon's like, anyone else feeling used? And everyone's not happy, but Elena says Elijah promised her that his family wouldn't hurt any of them, and she believes him. And while she's saying that, the doorbell rings and Elena goes to open the door and there's no one there, but on the doormat there's a letter with like Elena Gilbert written on the front in like a beautiful calligraphy. So already, you know, the game has changed. Yeah. We're being elevated every moment.
This isn't a Lockwood party.
Yeah, no, this is not some stupid founders event. It will not be at the Founders Hall. Yeah. No. And she picks up the letter and, closes the door, comes inside. And Damon and Stefan have gone out to meet her. And she opens the envelope and removes the card and says, it's an invitation that reads, "Please join the Mikaelson family this evening at 7:00 for dancing, cocktails, and celebration." Mm-hmm. Stefan is like, who the hell are the Mikaelsons?
She's got no idea.
Yeah, I guess they haven't established the name by this point.
Not really. They've always just said Klaus, Elijah, Rebecca. But you think Rebecca would have had to have had a last name at school.
Yeah, you would think.
But Stefan doesn't really pay attention in this era, so who knows?
Yeah, he's been pretty out of the loop, too.
Yeah, when's the last time we saw scientist Stefan? It's been a long time.
Yeah.
That man's not so
humanity.
observant.
He doesn't care what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Elena explains to him that that's the original family. Mm-hmm. And Damon is like, isn't it bad enough that they're moving into town? Now they want a housewarming gift from us?
Yeah.
Not happy. And Elena turns the card over and she sees that there's a handwritten note on the back that reads, "Elena, I think it's time that we finally meet. Esther."
Yeah.
Things are happening.
Yep. The original witch wants an audience with Elena.
Yep.
Very dramatic. Yeah. What could that be?
We'll find out.
Yeah. But yeah, so it begins. The best event, the best episode.
Yes.
It's the level up of season 2's Masquerade, which I also love. But this is like we're
taking another step.
Yeah, it really is like a notch up. So So excited.
Yeah.
So of course we have to go to the Mikaelsons, who are also prepping for this party. This is one of my favorite random scenes.
It's so good.
Yeah, like I like the last two, but I really like this one of finally getting to see all of the siblings together.
Yeah.
We saw them get reunited in the last one, which is of course a lot of anger and animosity in that scene.
Yep.
This is more actual sibling vibes of just like playing music, hanging out together. Rebecca's having her nails painted. Cole's getting a suit like tailored, and Finn and Elijah are also like prepping. Elijah's just like looking at his shoes. I was like, so Elijah to be just like every little detail about my outfit has to be perfect. And Cole says to Rebecca, tell me how handsome I am. And she says, oh, Cole, you know I can't be compelled. And Finn, like, smirks at them, obviously enjoying it. Like, right off the bat, so sibling vibes. Just immediately, they're so strongly that, like, snarky, like, not so serious but kind of serious sibling vibes. But, of course, the sibling who always brings the most serious vibes, Klaus, bursts in through the door and charges right at Rebecca and says, you went after Elena. What is wrong with you? And she's like, here we go.
Yep.
Wants no part of his drama. And he says, do you want another dagger in your heart? Literally, this man has no chill. This man,
none.
He holds no punches ever. And Cole jumps in and says, again with the dagger threats, don't you have any other tricks? And Klaus says, oh, go back to staring at yourself. And he, like, looks Cole up and down with, like, the most disgust. Like, the sibling vibes were, like, too strong. Mm-hmm. And Cole says, and who are you? My father. Classic sibling also. The sibling who, like...
knows where to hit you where it hurts.
Knows where to hit you where it hurts and is not afraid to do it. That's Cole, right off the bat. And Klaus responds, no, Cole, but you're in my house. So Cole says, then perhaps we should go outside. Both of these two always want to fight.
Always.
And yeah, I love Cole. I love his accent the most. I noticed it a lot in this scene that, like, even though if you've seen the behind the scenes, he didn't know what accent he was getting hired to do. So he had, like, no prep. He just showed up and they were like, that's not the accent you're supposed to do.
Yeah, no, try something else.
But it's really good.
It's good. No, it's
good. I actually really enjoy it. But anyway, so Klaus and Cole are gearing up to fight. They're, like, really challenging each other until Esther walks in, and she immediately puts a stop to it, saying, enough. Klaus, come. And Klaus follows her into the other room, and Cole is smirking, looking after him.
Like, he's in trouble.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like the classic, like, little kid sibling who's like, haha, you got in trouble with mom.
Yep.
So Klaus goes off with him, and as always, you know, he's the mature, even-tempered person we know him as. Obviously not. He's immediately childish and petulant about the whole thing and is like, Rebecca wasn't even out of her box a day before she tried to ruin my life.
Ruin his life.
Yeah, he's so childish.
So drama.
We say it all the time. Like,
he is.
Klaus is really funny because a lot of times his dialogue is so childish.
Yeah.
And this was one that really stuck out to me where it was like, Rebecca tried to ruin my life, Mom.
Yeah.
But then he, like, lays in what happened to peace, acceptance, family. And Esther's like, come on. She's like, you put daggers in their hearts. You want them to go down on their knees and kiss your feet for reuniting them? Like, the classic mom was like, bro, look at what you've done. Yeah, like, let's be real here. And Klaus is completely missing the point because he wants to. And he's like, so it's a crime to want our family to be as we were? And she tells him, like, give it time. Like, I have had 1,000 years on the other side to heal about this, to watch everyone. And my dream now is just that our family does become one. And so she asks him, now, who are you bringing to the ball this evening?
So motherly.
And also, you know, steering the conversation away to her forgiveness over Klaus.
Yep.
And he laughs and scoffs at that, saying, don't be ridiculous. You're lucky I'm even going. But he has this sort of, like, playful smile. Like, they're kind of getting along. Like, I think he's really buying into what she's selling about, like, wanting the family all together. And she says, well, I wish you would reconsider. It's going to be a magical evening.
These two.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Like,
yeah, I have to really respect and like Esther. She spent 1,000 years cooking this up. She was like,
she really did.
Yeah, she knew how to play her part. Like, she's been practicing. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing I was kind of wondering here too, is she specifically like going in on him about inviting someone because she knows he needs to be a little distracted? Like he needs somebody around to kind of take his attention away from her. Because Klaus is such a suspicious person.
I know.
And we paranoid.
Yeah. And we see Elijah is really suspicious of Esther. So.
And it's really weird that Klaus isn't, but then when you think about it, all you see of Klaus this whole episode is him following after Caroline. Yeah. And I think that was kind of Esther's goal here, was like she's seeing how he is with women. Like if he gets really obsessed with one, like that's it. Like that's all he's paying attention to. And so I think that was kind of her goal. She got lucky that he happened to have somebody who was already interested in. But yeah. Also on the originals, I love how fast they modernize. Like it's so interesting to see them in the scene like already like very modern. Yeah. And they adapt so fast. I guess they're just like used to it, but it's really interesting.
Yeah, no. They do come around so together. And I do also love their like dynamics. They feel very authentically like they could be siblings.
Oh, they
and
totally
like the mother-child relationship between Klaus and Esther.
Yeah.
I love the originals so much. Gonna go home and put that on it.
Oh, I know. This whole episode, I was like, I want to rewatch the originals next.
Same. Yeah, I probably will. But anyway, back to this episode. Back at the Gilbert house, Elena, Stefan, and Damon are still talking. And Elena says she thinks she should find out why Esther wants to talk to her. Naturally, the brothers do not agree.
Of course.
Damon is like, no, she already tried to kill you once. And Stefan says, no, Elena's right. Bonnie was led to open that coffin for a reason. I think there's more to this than just some family reunion.
Yeah.
Getting back a little bit of his scientist Stefan. He's thinking clearly now.
Slightly.
Yeah, slightly. And Damon says he just wants to go back to a time where Stefan cared if Elena lived or died. And Stefan is like, that's your job now.
Yeah.
But Elena,
Elena looked so disappointed when Damon said that. Did you notice that they like cut to Elena really quick and she just kind of like looks down and she looks so sad.
Yeah.
When Damon says like, I wish Stefan you still cared if Elena lived or died. Like it's such like an awkward thing to acknowledge as a group, and Stefan's just like, not my problem.
Not my problem anymore. Yeah.
Awkward. And they both stare at each other, the boys, after Stefan says that too. Like
for sure.
We talked about Klaus and Cole having the brother challenging vibes, but that was in like a playful, we're both like gearing up for a fight way.
Yeah,
this is like actual bad drama.
For sure come to blows. Yeah, not looking good. But Elena does diffuse the situation, and she just says Stefan has a point. She should find out what she wants, what Esther wants.
Yeah.
And Damon tells Elena that she can't protect herself. So Stefan's like, well, then I'll go. And then Damon is like, no, you've pissed off enough of the originals to last a lifetime. I'll go.
Yeah.
And Damon takes the invitation out of Elena's hand and tells her end of story.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and he just walks out immediately,
and just leaves.
Like end of conversation too. And Stelena are kind of just left staring at each other.
Yeah, like oh boy.
Yeah,
it should be good.
It's such a start of like the indicators of this episode. Like you can tell in this scene, like Stelena are becoming united on going against what Damon wants to do in this moment. So Stelena united for evil.
Yes.
Kind of the vibe.
Yeah. United against Damon once again.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So someone who needs some unity because she's getting abandoned
is
is Caroline. Yeah, so Caroline's at home and her phone kind of like beeps and she goes to pick it up and it's a voicemail from Tyler. And Tyler's basically just saying like, I should have called sooner, but I freaked out and I left town, which I was like, they just dropped this on us in a voicemail. He literally mauled her father in the last episode. Yeah. And he just left town again, which is crazy because also he goes on to say, I heard about your dad and I'm sorry.
Heard?
Yeah. Just through the grapevine. Like,
yeah, what?
Absolutely insane. And he's like, I'm going to fix myself and I'm going to come home to you. I love you. And that's it. That's the end of the voicemail. I was like,
I hate it.
Tyler mauled her father and then just left town.
Which did basically result in his death.
Yes, it did. Which the thing is, like, I don't necessarily blame him for the mauling or anything. Like, I don't
can't really control it.
Yeah, he can't control it. And I also blame Bill more so for the fact that he wasn't being careful at all. He acted like he knew what the repercussions could be and obviously didn't. But the thing I'm really mad about is that her father died.
Yep.
And he just left town. Like, that is when she needed him most. Like...
Yeah,
and he just left
ridiculous.
town. It's absolutely insane that he's like, you'll probably be better off without me. It's like the vibe he's getting. I have to fix myself before. I have to love myself before I can love you. That's what Tyler's giving. And I'm like, She deserves better.
She does deserve better. She really does deserve better.
True. Caroline is like looking at her phone when she hears someone knock on the door, and you hear the like whooshing vampire sound.
Whoosh.
Yeah, and she turns around, but by the time she does, like nobody's at the door anymore. So she goes and opens it and finds a huge box with a ribbon on it, and she picks it up, brings it inside, and she looks at the envelope on it, and it has her like handwritten name, just like Elena's. So clearly you kind of already know she's getting invited to the ball.
Yep.
And she opens it up, and it's the exact same invitation that Elena got to the Mikaelson ball. And then on the back of hers is also a handwritten message, but this time from Klaus that says, "Save me a dance. Fondly, Klaus." I love the use of fondly. I think that is a really interesting like word to choose.
Yeah.
From Klaus, because it wouldn't have had the same impact if it just said Klaus.
Yeah, yeah.
Or love Klaus would be
love
crazy.
Is too much. Yeah,
but
you can't
fondly,
do a best. That's too.
That's
best. Too corporate. Yeah.
See you later, Klaus.
Yeah. See you there. Yeah.
But fondly was like perfect. It's so charming immediately.
Well.
Not as charming for Caroline, who immediately scoffs and says her catchphrase, seriously?
I know.
We should have a counter of how many times Caroline says seriously in a season, because I'm sure it's like in the hundreds.
Very high.
It's definitely her catchphrase.
I think she says it again this episode.
She does.
Okay,
yeah. But yes, she starts opening the box at this point, and of course she sees inside is the most beautiful blue and white gown with like crystals all over it, and she just like freezes like looking at it and immediately puts the lid back on it. Yep. This is what people mean when they say shoot your shot. This was insane of Klaus to send her a gown. Like an invite is one thing, but to send a gown to go with it is like, he made a move.
He did make a move.
He saw what he wanted and he went for it.
Yeah.
He's like, it's not because of me that this doesn't happen. I will make sure it can happen.
I wouldn't have even needed to open the box if I was Caroline. I'd be like, yes, I'm in.
Immediately
the fondly.
Yeah.
Done. I'm in.
Yeah. And I love how like she scoffs at it, like saying like, oh, seriously, like whatever.
Yeah.
But then like as soon as she sees the dress, she looks so impressed. Like, which is why she closes the box so fast, because she's like, nope, I can't let him win me over with this. Because you definitely see the look on her face of being like so amazed. And like he knows, like she of course would be so won over with like a beautiful gown.
Yeah.
But also my headcanon is that Klaus was the one that hand delivered her invite and the dress.
I was also thinking that.
I feel like it has to be, because he didn't want any of his hybrids to know if she stood him up. Like, I gotta keep it a secret just in case she doesn't come. I can't let any of them know.
No, I was thinking that too. I feel like it is something he would want to hand deliver.
Especially like based on originals. I just feel like you get more of a vibe of that from him, that like, yes, he likes having the hybrids to like do his dirty work and stuff, but like, I don't know, there are some things I think he likes to do.
Yeah, definitely.
He's like standing out in her yard like waiting to see if she gets
that's what I was
it.
thinking too. I was like, he was probably like gearing himself up like down the block. I got this. You can do this, king. Like,
yeah, you're the original hybrid. Like, yeah,
you're immortal.
Yeah, he's so funny.
Yeah,
I really do think it was him.
I do too. No, I really do. But anyway, then of course later Caroline meets up with Elena at the grill, and they're talking about the Mikaelson ball, and Caroline says it's some twisted Cinderella fetish is what it is, and why does the evil witch want an audience with you anyway? And Elena tells Caroline she doesn't know why Esther wants to talk to her, but there's only one way to find out. Obviously, she's trying to get Caroline on her side, because Stefan and Damon are not. Well, Stefan kind of is, but they obviously are. They have a rocky thing going on right now.
And like she says next is like, I need a drama-free bodyguard.
Yes.
She's at least well aware, based on the Bonnie situation last episode, she can't be going rogue. She does need a vampire with her, like pretty much at all times.
She can't just be doing this alone. And she does say the thing about needing a drama-free bodyguard. But Caroline says a Salvatore would look a lot better in a tux. And by that, I mean Stefan. Obviously, still anti-Damon, which is very fair.
But Caroline just stays obsessed with Stefan. Like, she's nothing if not consistently obsessed with Stefan.
She is.
Despite the fact that he's literally, like, crazy right now.
I know.
Like,
she's a real one. She's a ride or die.
She really is a ride or die. No humanity, Stefan. He tried to kill her, like, a few days ago, and she's like, he's the better man.
He's the better choice. It's just so obvious.
Yeah.
But anyway, Elena tells Caroline, like, she can't deal with either of them right now, because whatever Stefan is feeling is being channeled all towards hating Klaus, and Damon it's just not a good idea.
Yeah.
Obviously. And Caroline's like, oh, why? Because you two made out?
Yeah.
Elena's obviously shocked. And Caroline's just like, Bonnie spilled the beans.
Yeah.
These girls, they can't keep a secret from each other. I do too.
And I love that they always admit to it.
I know. They're like, whatever. I told her.
Yeah.
Whatever.
There's no secrets between these three.
No, there really aren't. And Elena says she didn't want to bring it up after everything that happened with Caroline's dad, which is very fair, I feel.
So fair. Like, hey, Caroline, sorry about your dad dying. So I kissed Damon
the other night. I kissed Damon, yeah.
Like, that's not...
Yeah, no. I take Elena's side here, but Caroline is not happy. She has like a weird thing where she says when Elena and Matt kissed for the first time freshman year, Elena called Caroline the second it happened, but now she doesn't hear about this until now and from someone else.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. And as they're talking about this, and Elena apologizes and says she doesn't know how to feel about everything yet, which is also part of why she didn't tell her.
Yeah.
And while they're talking about this, Rebecca walks up and says, careful, Caroline. It's all well and good until she stabs you in the back.
I love Rebecca. She stays hating Elena.
She really does. And Elena is like, why are you even here, Rebecca? And Rebecca tells her, it has basically nothing to do with her. Get over herself.
Yeah. Yeah, because Elena's like, I know your mom's rules. No hurting the locals. Okay, Elena.
Yeah, chill.
Yeah.
Relax. And she wasn't even doing anything. She just showed up. But anyway, Rebecca just walks away after telling Elena to get over herself and walks right over to Matt and gives him an invitation to the ball.
Yeah.
Love. Caroline is like, why is she inviting him? And Elena points out it's probably to get this reaction from them.
Yeah.
And Caroline scoffs and is like, what time is this stupid dance? As if she was ever not going.
Yeah, I know. So funny. She clearly was always going to go.
For sure.
This was a good reason to be like, okay, well, now I have to go
protect Matt.
Yeah, of course.
It has nothing to do with the beautiful ball gown.
Yeah, because we'll see where her priorities lie as this dance actually happens and how much time she actually spends protecting Matt.
Matt could have died 10 times over.
Yeah, the amount of times he's in actual peril in this episode, and Caroline is off with Klaus, so high.
Yeah.
But anyway, wasting no time, we finally get into it. The ball, the Mikaelson ball, the glitz, the glam, the champagne, the chandeliers,
the beautiful new mansion. I love
the live band playing classical music, all the twinkly lights on the stairs.
It looks
the whole thing looks so beautiful. So many props to the set decks and everyone who worked on
it looks amazing
this episode, because it really came together. And so first we see Damon, who walks right over to Carol Lockwood, our one little Carol scene this whole episode, and he hands her a glass of champagne. Obviously has to rizz her up, has to win her back since Klaus has been on the defense in that scenario. And he says hello, and they clink their glasses and say hello. And Damon says, hanging out with your new besties? And Carol says, I'm the mayor, Damon. When the oldest, deadliest family of vampires moves into your town, you welcome them with a smile. She knows how to play the game.
Carol 2 weeks ago, I'm going to torture and possibly kill the daughter of my best friend who I've known her whole life because she's a vampire. Carol today, I have no choice. I have to be their friend.
Yeah, but she's so real for this. They are the oldest, deadliest.
She is right, but what a switch up.
Yeah, it is a switch up. I also like the way she delivered this. I wondered if the actress, I'm blanking on her name, if she's Southern. Something about this sounded Southern to me.
I mean, she definitely gives me Southern
she gives
lady
Southern
vibes.
Mom vibes. Yeah. But anyway, Damon is giving her the sass. He doesn't like any of this. And he gives her a huge smile. And he says, well, at least you know who you're borrowing that cup of sugar from. He's just
he's getting her.
Yeah, he's again, calling her out for the switch up. He's let's not be Team Mikaelson here.
Yeah.
But Carol says, I'm trying to protect this town. They've assured me they want peace. And I've assured them that I would enforce it. Carol really has no grounds to ensure peace or protect her or anything anyway.
What has she ever done?
Yeah, she's just playing nice just because that's the only way to get around this.
Yeah.
As we see kind of with this next character who Cole walks over to introduce himself, and he kisses Carol's hand and greets her. And yeah, it's just so funny to me because we kind of have already gotten the vibes from Cole at this point that he just likes to get a rise out of people and mess with people.
Oh, for sure.
So him playing nice with Carol here, I feel is also an indicator of, how this game is being played, basically.
For sure.
And he is working towards some sort of game, it feels like, because he's saying, "I hope your lovely town embraces us just as much as we plan to embrace it." And he has like the cheesiest smile, and it's clearly like he means murder everyone.
Yep.
And then Damon holds out his hand to shake Cole's and says, "Damon Salvatore, have we met?" But Cole refuses to shake his hand.
Yeah. Also, like, kind of cutting Cole off from talking to
That's
Carol.
true.
You know, Damon is not happy about another one.
Yeah, I can't have
another
more
person
competition with
stepping
her.
in on Carol.
True. But yes, Cole refuses to shake his hand.
Yep.
And he says, "I've met a lot of people, and you don't particularly stand out." And he just walks away. This scene was so weird to me because I was like, were they actually trying to hint at some sort of Cole-Damon connection? Why would Damon say, "Have we met"?
Yeah, I don't know.
It is really weird. I was like, it feels like they were trying to drop in some sort of, because it works well enough as it is, of like, I don't know, maybe Damon just thinks he's met him for some reason.
Yeah, when would he have met him though?
It would have had to have been like between 1864 and 1912 or whatever that he went in the box. Like, it's a small 50-year window or so. But it kind of made me think maybe they were trying to hint at some sort of like Klaus Stefan 2.0.
Oh,
like they knew each other, and Cole like compelled them, because they kind of seem at this point like complementary vibes in a way.
Yes,
very like similar vibes.
Flirtatious.
Yeah.
Liable to go rogue.
Yeah. So it kind of makes me think that they were planting the seeds of like, if we want to give a backstory here at some point, we can. But then they just never actually did anything with it, because they never do anything with that. There's never any indication that they've ever met or anything. Like, it's so unclear why Damon asked that.
Not sure.
Yeah, but I just thought that was interesting that they sort of like hinted at that. But anyway, Damon can't follow up with that because suddenly he's like looking around the room and he sees Elena entering through the big double doors in a huge gown.
Massive.
Literally massive gown. And he has this moment looking at her as she enters, and the song is blaring the lyrics like, "Devotion."
Yeah.
Like, it's so clearly supposed to be like, "I'm obsessed with you."
Yeah.
And he's just like staring at her. I don't know if we want to get into her outfit and her whole look just as she's appearing.
I mean, I think we can leave it at she looks gorgeous. Like,
yes.
We'll talk about outfits later.
Yeah.
But for right now, I think we can say she looks literally stunning.
Yeah, and it's such a moment of her like walking through the doors with the song. Like, they're clearly trying to give her a moment. And they're trying to give Damon a moment in that, and Delana, because he's looking at her. But of course it gets interrupted by Selena because Stefan appears like in front of Elena before Damon gets there.
Before that, I also want to say, like, Damon goes to like excuse himself from the conversation with Carol. He's like, "Excuse me, Carol." Does not take his eyes off Elena for even a second. Yeah,
he's so obsessed with her. Again,
so
devotion. And so he like starts beelining over there, but Stefan beats him. And they have this little like, you know, "Oh, surprised you're here" moment. When Damon, of course, does finally catch up to them. And he's like, "Surprise," and he says to Stefan, "Nice tux." And then he says to Elena, "You're not supposed to be here." And she says, "Well, I am, and I'm not leaving until I find out what Esther wants. So, shall we?" And Stefan offers Elena his arm, and she like wraps hers in it. And then she looks at Damon, and Damon does the same and offers his arm, and she also takes his arm. And then both Salvatores escort Elena into the party, one on each arm. They're so insane for this. A Salvatore on each arm, just like was said in like season 1. Like, it's literally like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
I love everything. This broke my brain when I watched it for the first time.
It's
like,
so crazy.
Oh my god. Like, even now I'm like, I'm speechless.
Yeah, why? Like, as Elena too, I'd be like, can we just walk together? Why do you have to have both of your arms? It's so weird.
I know, but I love that like she looks at Damon expectantly. Like, it's
That's
almost
true.
like she wants Damon to have put his arm out. Like,
yeah,
it
is interesting. I think it is playing at the fact that like she's really wants and has both of them.
Yeah.
Because I think if it had been Damon, she probably also kind of would have looked at Stefan. But I think Stefan wouldn't have offered it second like Damon did.
No, I don't think he would have.
So it's just interesting the way it plays out perfectly to end up with Elena to have both Salvatores on her arms.
I know. I wish they could stay like this forever. The three of them, a throuple.
Why don't we do throuples anymore?
Yeah.
Or I guess back then, whatever this is the way it works.
Yeah. Oh,
but
I love them.
Anyway, it just kills me. It also kills me that the invite just said like cocktails and celebration. Nowhere did it say huge ball gowns required. You must wear like gloves with your outfit, and everyone somehow got the message. They were like, "We're going all out."
Yeah, no.
I don't know how everyone knew.
Yeah, especially because like, where is Elena getting this massive dress? Like,
Literally, yeah, miss, I have nothing in my closet. My closet sucks. She said that like 4 episodes ago.
Yeah, I feel like she said it a few times too.
Yeah.
Like she had to raid Stefan's stuff for like one of the dances. Yeah, like.
Yeah, where did she get this?
Yeah, she has
also, probably everyone in
gown.
Mystic Falls had to run out and buy a dress that day.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, JCPenney or whatever was even around then.
JCPenney. They all got their Macy's ball gowns. They cleared out the prom section.
Out the door.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Apparently, Mystic Falls is just well stocked in formal wear.
I guess so. Not anymore.
Not anymore. Yeah, it's all gone. It will be back tomorrow when everyone returns it.
Yeah, that's true. But speaking of all of the outfits, we get a quick little scene of Caroline having this same problem. She has nothing to wear. She's looking through her closet, flipping through, and then she kind of turns back to her bed where the box with the dress is sitting.
Yeah.
She's like, she goes through and picks it. She's going to wear it.
Yeah, obviously.
She didn't want to, but she's going to.
Yeah, she's so
obviously.
real for that. What are you going to wear?
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, of course. And then we go right to the ball when Caroline is entering in her dress. She looks beautiful.
Yeah.
And Klaus is kind of talking to someone, you know, a little bit away from the room. And he notices her and then leaves the conversation he's in. Like, he just walks away.
Say goodbye. The woman is also fully laughing at him. Like, she's definitely, like, trying to riz him up. She's like, I want to win over this, like, billionaire.
Of course.
And he just walks away mid-conversation. Yeah. Producer Shay was like, if that was me and I was talking to a man and just walked away mid-conversation. Yeah, I'd
have to move. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no getting back from that. So sorry to that poor woman. Because you were really a casualty in the Caroline love story. But
sad to be her. But Caroline looks literally beautiful. I would have done the same. She looks so good. And Klaus walks up to her and says, good evening. And she just brushes by and says, I need a drink.
Yeah, not ready for that.
But they, like, linger on Klaus for a second. You can tell he's, like, even more intrigued.
He's happy she came.
Being put in my place.
That's so true. And she actually came, and she wore the dress.
Yes.
Like, I feel like he probably really didn't even know if she would. I'm sure Caroline didn't really know if she was going to do it. Obviously, she was to the last second trying to decide if she should wear a dress or not.
Yeah.
So... yeah, it's interesting, those two. So many scenes throughout that one.
Yeah.
My least favorite original, probably. At the bar, Finn walks up to Elena and introduces himself, and he says, you're here to see my mother. And she asks if Esther is there, and Finn kind of scolds her, getting serious, saying, her request did not include your friends.
Yeah. You can already tell Finn is the worst. Like, they're...
yeah, he does these little lines throughout this whole episode that are very, like... controlling and like taking himself way too seriously.
Yes.
And inserting himself. Yes. Yeah. And Elena says, they're protecting me. You may not know, but your mother already tried to kill me once. And she's kind of snarkily like smiling at him, kind of trying to play the like formal game, but also like being like, yeah, right. Come on, no protection.
Yeah.
And he says, if you want to see my mother, you'll need to be alone. And then they're interrupted, of course, because the sound system starts to, like, you hear mics turning on. I was like, why? What? There's a sound system in this whole house? I don't know.
Of course.
But, of course, it's Elijah asking everyone to gather. So Finn excuses himself from Elena and goes to join all of the originals standing on the staircase as Elijah starts to address the company. And Esther walks down the staircase from the top to join them. And it is finally, like, the iconic shot of all of the originals together on the stairs. This is famously the moment that, like, started it all.
Yeah.
When they were filming this episode. They had sort of been talking in the back about, you know, how maybe there would be a pilot opportunity since the Vampire Diaries was so successful. And I think there was a couple ideas they were kind of vaguely talking about. And Julie Plec took a photo of Julie Plec, the writer, if you don't know, took a photo of the originals on the stairs and like sent it to the studio and was like, here's your spinoff. This is the spinoff.
It is. She was right.
She's right. She was so right. Yeah, I'm so glad that like they clocked that obviously this quickly because it's only the second episode with all the originals in it. Really the first full one. Yeah, it's such an iconic episode. It's like immediately like, yep, it's our new show.
It's obviously them.
Yeah, obviously. And it's crazy too that it's still like pretty far out. Like it's a whole year away from the originals pilot even getting like, you know, a pilot. Yeah. So it's crazy that they already in this moment were like, this is the new show.
Has to be
like,
it.
This is so
clearly.
Good.
Yeah.
But anyway, so getting into it, Elijah's announcing, welcome, thank you for joining us. You know, whenever my mother brings our family together like this, it's tradition for us to commence the evening with a dance. And you see Damon and Stefan are in the crowd, both noticing Esther. Mm-hmm. And they both comment, like, oh, yeah, I see her. Mm-hmm. And we see Elena is definitely seeing Esther, too.
Yeah.
And Elijah's still talking about the dance, saying tonight's pick is a centuries-old waltz, so if all of you could please find yourselves a partner, please join us in the ballroom. And Esther starts to retreat silently back up the stairs as everyone's kind of going down towards the ballroom. And Elena moves to go towards the stairs, too, to follow after her. But Damon blocks her way, and he says, don't even think about it.
Of course.
And Elena's like, she wants to see me alone, Damon. And he still is pushing, being like, well, sucks to be her then. And he says, was I not clear this morning? And Elena pushes back and says, I was invited, which I don't know why that means
I don't
have
know.
to go, but whatever. But Damon says, you have to tell me before you walk into a lion's den. And Elena asks, why? So you can stop me. And Damon is like, yes.
Yeah, obviously.
Of course. And he looks so frustrated at her. But then he's like kind of like resets himself and smiles. And he extends his hand out towards her and he says, it would be rude not to dance, you know. And Elena finally relents, putting her hand in his and curtsies, saying, it is tradition. It's the perfect distraction to go take her to dance, but obviously Damon just loves to dance.
Oh, yeah. No, he loves to dance.
Yeah, and they do always dance together. It is a tradition in a way. Which is so cute that she says it is tradition, because it feels like Miss Mystic Falls is what that is in reference to, because of course that's where they really dance together. But yeah, it's so perfect. And so Damon and Elena, they walk towards the ballroom, and we see in the background, Stefan is standing there watching them, and his face when they go, he is so devastated.
I know. My heart broke for him.
I know. And like, you can see that he's like really realizing like how bad he's messed up recently. Yeah. And like, you know, we've talked about it a lot in the past like 4 or 5 episodes at this point. Like,
yeah.
But this is really a moment where you're just like, he's feeling everything.
He
like,
definitely
as much as he's
is.
Still pretending he's not, he really is.
Yeah.
He looks devastated. Like, that was a blow.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they didn't know any 3-person dances, that they could just all 3 waltzed together.
Yeah, sad for them.
Yeah.
But then the song starts up as they walk.
My favorite centuries-old waltz.
I know. Ed Sheeran, Give Me Love.
Yeah.
I know. It's like they're wild for this. And they're all dancing. It looks beautiful. And Damon tells Elena that she looks stunning if it isn't obvious. And she thanks him.
Yeah.
And then, I'm such a Delana shipper, but I'm like, in this moment, I don't even care.
Yeah, I don't even care.
Give me the good stuff.
Yeah. AKA Caroline.
AKA Caroline. And we see Caroline are dancing together, and Klaus tells her that he's glad she came. And Caroline says it was either caviar, obviously, at the party, or sympathy casseroles.
Yeah.
And Klaus starts to say, I heard about your father. And she says, don't. Seriously.
Yeah.
And Klaus says, very well. On to more mannered subjects then. Like how ravishing you look in that dress. Oh, my God. And Caroline tries to say she didn't have time to shop. Like, that's what kind of making an excuse as to why she's wearing the dress. And Klaus points out that she's wearing the bracelet that he gave her in her birthday episode, which she would have no excuse for wearing. You know, she didn't have to put it on. And then he kind of says, you know, you're quite the dancer. And she says she's had training since she's Miss Mystic Falls. And he says, I know.
So
at this
cute.
point, I'm screaming at my television. I'm like,
I know.
I love them.
The scene's so good. The calling her out for wearing the bracelet is insane. Like,
oh my God.
He got her.
He did.
Her wearing the bracelet is
it's
insane.
Yeah.
You know, she was just like, it matches. Like, I might as well.
Tyler's charm bracelet's in the trash.
Yeah. Not fit for this event.
No.
But I really like, too, that he, like, notices that and comments on it. Because I do think it speaks to a thing that makes them go well together, is that they are these people who appreciate and notice aesthetics and who have this like appreciate the finer things too. It's you know, this is not a thing Tyler relates to
ever
at all.
clock at all. No, never.
Also, this scene is insane because throughout the entire scene, he doesn't take his eyes off of her for a second.
Not even a second.
And like at the very start of the dance, when you kind of just see them in the mashup of people that are dancing together, you can see he's also staring at they're dancing next to each other, and he has his head fully turned to be looking at her when they're dancing together.
I know. I had the thought, I was like, if I was Abby Bennett Wilson watching this, I would be like, we
He's
have some
obsessed with
talking
her.
to do.
Yeah. Because it's so crazy
No,
how
it's
much
so
he's like, he does not take
wild.
his eyes off her. And she also, interestingly, barely looks at him.
Yeah.
She's not looking at him.
Yeah, she's
at
focused
all.
on Matt and Rebecca.
That's true. Yeah, and sometimes too it feels like just an intentional, like, I don't even want to look at you. I'm pretending it's not you that I'm dancing with. It's the perfect romantasy tropes. Talk about it all the time, but they are so romantasy.
No, they this show walked so romantasy could run.
So true.
But anyway, they're dancing. We leave them there after the I know. And then we see Elena and Damon are still dancing together. And then Damon twirls her around and she twirls right into Stefan's arms.
Yeah, it's basically flung.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because they end up like faces inches apart.
Literally like an inch. Yeah.
The tension is it is tense.
It's
the tension
tense.
is tensioning.
Yes, it definitely is. And they start dancing together, and Elena, makes a joke, and he says, he dances. I didn't even have to beg. And Stefan says Carol dragged him out to the dance floor so he couldn't say no, which I was like...
Yeah, which is also crazy because humanity's off Stefan would have definitely just been like, no.
Yeah.
Just walked away.
Yeah.
So...
It's true. But yeah, his humanity's back on. He was like, I can't tell Carol no. And they keep talking, and then we go back to who Caroline got spun into, and we see Caroline and Matt are now dancing together. And...
Caroline can never resist. She immediately goes in. What are you doing? Why are you here with the she-devil?
Yeah. And Matt is like, what was I supposed to say? Like, was I supposed to tell her no?
Yeah.
And then he asks Caroline why she's there with Klaus.
Yeah, Matt calls everyone out.
Yeah.
He never lets anybody get away with anything.
Yeah, I'm like, I can see why Elena and Matt work together. They both love to run up on people.
That's so true.
And... she said, Caroline is like, don't even get me started.
Yeah.
And then we go back to Stelena, and they're talking about Elena putting Damon in a mood because he hasn't figured out that Elena can look out for herself.
Yeah.
Of course. And Elena just says to Stefan that she needs to talk to him, but not on the dance floor.
Yeah.
So they stop dancing and walk away. And then we see... Damon and Rebecca dancing together. Yeah. They've gotten spun together somehow. And Rebecca is staring at Caroline as she dances. Yeah. And Damon is like, stop staring. It's creepy. And Rebecca is like not looking at him and just ignores him. And it's like, of course she looks beautiful. Nick gave her everything she's wearing. And Damon says, well, you're no dog yourself.
He's so funny for that.
He is. And they banter. She's like, that's not really a compliment. And he says she doesn't get a compliment because she tried to kill Elena like a minute ago. And then Damon is like, wait, where's Elena?
Yeah. Conversation over.
Yeah, wait, I don't care about this at all. Where's Elena?
Yeah, I just love that Rebecca knows that Klaus gave Caroline her outfit.
I know.
And is clearly obsessed with the fact. And you know that she's so pissed about it, too.
Oh, for sure.
She was obsessed with stealing Caroline's life when she was, around forever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so funny.
They stay having such a weird siblings are dating vibe. Like, Rebecca's kind of jealous.
Yeah, it is a weird vibe. But anyway, also weird vibes is Stelena, too. Like, that dance between them, like, I love
so charged.
Exactly what I was going to say. I love a Stelena dance, but that Stelena dance was charged.
Yeah.
Like, it was so tense between the two of them. And, the looks they're giving each other, like, when Stefan says, like, he needs to figure out you can take care of yourself. They just stare at each other. And she looks at his lips, too.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very, like...
It's so different than... like any of the other times they've danced together. Like, it's so crazy that even when they were together, I feel like it didn't even feel like this. But now I'm like...
It's been a long time for Stelena since it's felt like this.
Definitely.
Like, probably season 1.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, it's such a tense moment. And until she kind of does, like, that... like realizing like, oh, he will help me get done what I want to do. So let's go outside to talk. Yeah. So going outside where Stelena have went to talk privately, they're alone, like out in the yard, like there's nobody else out there. And Elena explains to Stefan that if Esther is secretly on their side, then they need to know that. Mm-hmm. But like Elena can't get to her with 2 bodyguards following her around. And Stefan's just like, why are you telling me this?
Yeah.
And she says, of course, because Damon won't let her do it. She needs his help. And she says, you care about killing Klaus more than you care about anything. So, and Stefan like nods his head with like a really tight smile and kind of looks upset. Mm-hmm. And she asks, what, am I wrong? And he says, no, you're not wrong. What do you need me to do? And she asks him to make sure that she can get in that room with Esther alone. And he says, "You're sure you can do this?" And Elena confirms, I can do it. And Elena starts to walk away, but she suddenly stops, not that far, and just immediately turns around and says, "When we were together, you used to let me make my own decisions. You trusted me. After all of this, at least that hasn't changed."
I have so many mixed feelings about her saying that.
I have so many mixed feelings about Selena this whole episode, but I agree with that too, that line specifically is so weird.
Yeah, I don't even have any in-depth analysis about it or anything, but it's just such a weird thing for her to say. And it also feels like with every single one of these things she's saying to Stefan, it feels kind of like it's supposed to be a barb.
Interesting.
You care about killing Klaus more than anything, and which very clearly hurts Stefan.
Yes.
He clearly does not like that, and I don't even know if it's really true at this point.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know.
He's focusing on it because, we've talked about with humanity and everything, you tend to focus on something like that.
That's true. Yeah.
But I don't know. But the last line especially, I was like...
Yeah, unnecessary.
So
the thing
odd.
that I think is really weird about that one is, of course, the future perspective of it. Again, those pesky spoilers we always warn about.
Yes.
We, of course, know where this season is going, and that Elena is going to die at the very end of the season because Stefan will respect her wishes, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So I just think it's really interesting to frame this as something that Elena finds important about her relationship with Stefan, because I think it does probably lead him to be I guess I've always got to do what she says, even if it means she'll die.
Yeah. No, that's definitely true. I feel like it started as Stefan was kind of respectful of her decisions, and that was a big through line, and Elena really hammered home how much she liked that about Stefan.
Yeah. And then it turned into him just listening to whatever she says, despite the fact that
just anything.
Yeah, despite the fact that her decisions aren't always rational or the best option at all.
They never make any sense. They're usually bad decisions.
Yeah. So
it also it borders on making him be not caring almost. It's I don't know. I've just always felt it was weird that it's he should want to not let her just die. Who knows what Esther's about to go do? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just so odd.
This episode, at least, it's still playing the game of the no humanity. Despite the fact that everyone kind of knows that's not the case anymore. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's so many layers to it, and I think it's interesting to think about the fact that maybe Elena is trying to kind of hurt him, and I think she's definitely trying to pull him back in.
Yeah, it was a little manipulative too.
Yeah. I don't know. It's so weird. We talk a lot about how the Delena vibes are always shifting. This is such a Stelena vibes shifting episode. This changes a lot about the trajectory of Stelena. I just don't think it's necessarily in a super positive way, but we'll talk about that more as we get into their later scene. Yeah. Because I think that has a lot more to be said about them. So, anyway, going back inside, Cole and Rebecca are standing on the side watching the room, and he asks her where her date is, and she says flirting with his ex. Clearly, Elena's bodyguard, Caroline, turned into Matt's not very good bodyguard, Caroline.
Yeah, what?
Yeah, she's not watching Elena at all.
No, or Matt.
Or Matt. Yeah, she's not a good bodyguard of Matt. But anyway, Cole comments, "You've changed, Becca. Settling for mortals is the first sign of weakness."
Of course.
They're really amping up Cole's character in this episode. It's so funny to me.
But I love it.
Yeah,
I'm so here for it.
The way they're crafting him is funny. But anyway, Rebecca then reveals, "I'm not settling. I brought him here to kill him." He's Elena's friend. If he dies, then she suffers. But I've already been scolded once, so I was hoping you'd help your baby sister out.
Of course.
You love when you have to go to your siblings and be like, "Please help me with the murder."
Yeah, please help me kill them.
But anyway, Cole acts all offended and spit in the face of Mother's rules. And then he smirks and says, "I'm in." And then she smiles at him too. Yeah, I was like, my toxic trait is that since day one, I've always been obsessed with Cole Mikaelson.
Same. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. But he just comes in with such a strong personality. It's so hard to ignore how interesting and entertaining he is, how crazy he is. There's something very appealing about that.
No, yeah, he's such a wild card. Even more so than Damon, I feel. We'll see, obviously, in future episodes. The whole Jeremy thing, that was crazy. But I love him for that.
A psycho. And this episode so strongly establishes that trajectory for him.
Definitely.
But
also kind of being psycho. We see Elena is alone in a room that looks like a library maybe. There's a bookshelf and everything.
Off on the side.
Yeah, off in another room. And Damon walks in and is like, "I got your text. What are we doing here?" And Elena just kind of looks at him, and us as viewers, we already know it's a betrayal.
Yeah.
Because she just kind of looks at him and doesn't say anything and looks a little guilty maybe. And then out of nowhere, Stefan runs from the side and picks Damon up and breaks his back.
Yeah. Not necessary.
Yeah, not necessary to be that extra. But Stefan needed to get that out.
Oh, that's exactly what I thought. I was like, he definitely took too much joy out of that.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And, Damon just falls to the floor. He's obviously unconscious. And Stefan tells Elena to hurry up because Damon won't be down long. And Elena walks to the door and then, pauses and looks back at Stefan.
Yeah, she kind of looks at Damon briefly, too.
Yeah.
And then it's Stefan.
Yeah, but without saying anything. And then she walks away. And we see that she's then walking down the hallway, obviously to go find Esther, when Elijah catches up to her. And he stops her and says, Elena, I understand my mother requested to see you. And Elijah explains, that Esther's ability to forgive Klaus after everything he's done to destroy this family strikes me as a little strange, to say the least. Like, Elijah is onto them. He has no Caroline to distract him. He knows what's up.
True.
And Elena asks Elijah if he thinks what Esther is saying is all an act. And Elijah just says it has him asking questions he never thought he'd ask. Mm-hmm. And then he asks Elena, can I depend on you to tell me what she says? And Elena, of course, says, of course. And that she'll find him later, obviously, to relay this.
Why would Elijah trust a single thing Elena's ever said?
Yeah, first of all, Elena, not the most trustworthy, I feel.
No.
But also, Elijah, you've double-crossed her 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Like, why would there be any loyalty?
Yeah, like we said at the start, like, they are buddies. They do have this weird, sort of understanding and chemistry, but that does not equate to trust or to actually being able to, base your plans in your life around what she says.
Also, I'm sure Elijah has no idea what Esther is planning, which is to take down everyone.
Yes, that's true.
But obviously Elena has a million reasons to side against at least Klaus.
And Rebecca.
Yeah. It's pretty much just Elijah that she would potentially not.
Which is why he's trying to appeal to her, but still, it is a little short-sighted for him to, agree on that. Yeah. But anyway. In Esther's study, Finn is sharpening a knife. He's cleaning it off while Esther is burning sage. And then there's a knock at the door. And Esther says, that'd be the girl. Yep. And Finn walks over to the door, revealing Elena standing there alone. To which Finn acknowledges, you're alone. Wise choice. Again, so snarky. He's got such a bad vibe.
He really does.
And so Elena walks into the room and notices that Esther's holding the sage, and she kind of looks a little nervous about we're already spell casting. Are you gonna kill me right here, right now?
We're really jumping into this.
But Esther says it's only sage. I've spelled it so we can speak freely without fear of being overheard. Which I think is so brilliant that this sage can create this cone of silence.
Yeah.
I'll love it in the next episode too. We'll talk about that one. But anyway, she dismisses Finn, and so he just leaves and closes the doors behind him. And Esther says, you must have a million questions for me, Elena. And Esther gestures toward the sofa, and they both sit down together. And Elena starts with asking, how are you alive?
Yeah, we're all wondering.
Yeah, we all wanted to know right away. Are you a ghost or... And Esther says, not exactly. When I died, the witch Ayanna preserved my body with a spell. She was a close friend of mine and an ancestor of your friend Bonnie. And Elena realizes that is why Bonnie and her mom were the only ones that could open the casket. And Esther confirms that they complete the Bennett line. And that Esther drew power from them and their ancestors on the other side. Which is so crazy.
There is so much to discuss here. First of all, I think it's previously in the beginning of the episode when Klaus and Esther are talking, he just kind of says I killed you. How could you forgive me? It seems like Klaus just thinks he killed Esther. So how did he know to keep the body? I still don't really understand how he knew.
I don't get that either. And also if the coffin was magically sealed by Ayanna, how is it a brand new coffin? It's not even 5 years old. It's supposed to be 1,000 years old.
Yeah, it looks like it was today. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and then I guess Ayanna sealed it and put her in it, but then how did Klaus get it? I don't understand.
Yeah, that whole thing isn't very. I
don't know.
It doesn't make sense.
I'm still kind of confused about it. And then she just needed to draw on the Bennetts to come back, I guess.
Yeah, that's fine. We see more about that in the next episode.
Yes, they'll talk about that more, but
But yeah, the whole logistics. If anyone has theories or actually understands, please let us know in the comments, because I definitely am really curious. I don't really get it.
Yeah, no.
But anyway.
But I'm willing to buy in.
Yeah, sure. And Elena then asks Esther, "You've been on the other side for 1,000 years?" And Esther says, "Nature's way of punishing me for turning my family into vampires. But there is a way for me to undo the evil I created." And Elena's kind of quiet thinking, and this is getting serious now. And she realizes, "You're going to help us kill Klaus, aren't you?" And Esther says, "One thing at a time, Elena. For now, I simply need your help." I love this storyline of Esther, like, being this deceiving, thing that, like, you're like, oh, his mother, like, that's not going to kill Klaus.
Yeah.
But she confirms pretty much immediately, like, yeah, I'm going to kill Klaus. And not just Klaus. This is like a 5-package deal.
Yeah. Even more than that, we find out eventually.
That's true.
Which I also feel like they're kind of building to in this. She says, nature's punishing her for turning, like, her family into vampires.
Oh, that's true.
But there's a way to undo the evil that she created. Which
that's
I feel
true.
Like
it has nothing to do with just them. She means all vampires.
She means vampirism, yeah.
Yeah. Crazy.
So good. I love this plot.
I love this plot so much. Speaking of plots, I love.
Plots I absolutely love.
Yeah.
Outside of the Mikaelson house, we see Caroline is admiring, like, a beautiful horse. Mm-hmm. And why the horse is there, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but Klaus approaches her and asks if she likes horses. And Caroline says that she's not talking to him.
Yeah, she refuses to even look at him.
She doesn't look at him. She says she's not talking to him until he tells her why he invited her here. And he just says, "I fancy you."
Yeah, immediately.
He pulls no punches. He's like, "I fancy you." Is that so hard to believe? And she says, "Yes." And he asks why. "You're beautiful. You're strong. You're full of light. I enjoy you."
He's so shameless.
I would be crumbling.
Yeah.
He is so shameless, but, like, I would be crumbling.
Yeah.
And Caroline says she's spoken for by Tyler. And Klaus says he thought that they ended things. And Caroline says yes, but only because of the sire bond.
Yeah.
And Klaus is like, "So you aren't spoken for."
Yeah, gotcha.
The priorities matter. He's got him straight. He's like, "So you're not spoken for?" And then, he goes into the story. He says, "Horses are the opposite of people. They're loyal. My father hunted me for 1,000 years, and the closest he ever came was the day he killed my favorite horse. He severed its neck with a sword as a warning."
Very Godfather.
Yeah, very. But also I was like, oh, I love you, Klaus. Yeah. I'm sorry this happened to you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it is a very humanizing, sympathetic story for him to tell here.
Which we really have not gotten from Klaus so far.
Yeah. But Caroline is a great avenue to, like, bring that stuff out.
Yeah, definitely. And Caroline asks if he ever considered sitting down with his father and just talking it out. And Klaus says his relationship with Michael was a little bit more complex than her relationship with Bill. Mm-hmm. And Caroline says, "Maybe so, but I let my father go with no regrets. And to answer your question, yes, I like horses, but I also like people, and they actually like me, so I'll be inside." And she leaves to go back inside.
Yeah. Oh, such a great scene.
It's so good. I love Caroline so much. I wish Caroline would dial back the, like, sass just a little.
I disagree.
I know he loves it.
No, it's not even that he loves it. I think it's perfect romantasy to have this, like, villainy type.
I guess that's true.
And her being very against it. That's, like, what makes it better, is that her being so against it and then eventually kind of falling for it is, like, that's what I really like. Like, enemies to lovers. I love enemies to lovers, and that's what this is giving.
I do too, but the dead father stuff felt like a little, like, I don't know, being like, why didn't you just talk it out with Michael? I don't know. It just felt like I mean,
I like it. I think that it is her kind of calling him out for, like, why do you always have to overcomplicate things? And why do you have to act like it's this great, crazy scheme and everything against you? Like, Klaus never did try to actually talk to Michael or his siblings. He constantly daggers. Like, I think it's a really fair call out on her part to be like, yes, she is, like, oversimplifying an issue that is, like, super complicated, in that, a few weeks ago when Michael was still alive, Klaus couldn't have sat down and talked to him about it. They've been hunting each other for 1,000 years. But I do think there is this element of, like, I don't know, that Klaus does usually take like the harder, more difficult, dramatic route.
Yeah.
And I think it's really fair of her to call him out on that.
Yeah.
Like, maybe you could just talk to people. Maybe that's like a more healthy.
I think it makes a lot more sense with the siblings.
Yeah.
Michael, I don't ever, even like in 900, I don't really ever see him sitting down and talking, but with the siblings,
Caroline
I feel like
doesn't know that kind of stuff though. She doesn't know that his father was like fully abusive and like, you know, so. Which is why he says like it is more complicated than you even realize. But I don't know. Her relationship with her father is also, I would say, really pretty complicated. So
yeah, well, that's the other thing. I was like, I don't really love the moral high ground she seems to have about her relationship with Bill. I'm like, Bill sucked. Like, come on. Like, it's not like he was father of the year.
No, but I didn't see it as a moral high ground thing, though. I see it as like I also had a pretty terrible father, and I found a way to like make it not so toxic, which I don't know, it's so hard because they're so incomparable, because at the end of the day Bill wasn't trying to kill Caroline necessarily.
Well, he tortured her.
I think he was willing to kill her at one point. I don't know, but it's hard to imagine that after 900 years Bill and Caroline could turn into what Klaus and Michael were.
Probably not. That's pretty extreme.
I don't know. Anyway, I find it interesting. I feel like I agree with a lot of the way that this went down, and I really like it. But anyway, I also love, too, that, like, Caroline is, like, kind of sassily smiling as she leaves, and Klaus is just left standing there by himself with the horses looking so, like, it's not working. Like, how do I make this work?
He's like, I have an idea, and we'll see what the idea is later.
Yeah, and I love that he, like, immediately said he fancies her when she asked.
Oh, I love
and, like, that he enjoys her. Like, I wish people were more straightforward like this.
I know. Oh, it's like, oh, I love him.
Yeah,
I would, like I said, if I were Caroline, would be crumbling. That's why I can't even imagine her sass level. I'm like, it wouldn't be me.
See,
it would never be me.
I feel like I would joke that I would crumble immediately because it would so work. But I do think on the outside, I would still be fighting. Because you have to remember, this man is so evil in her life. Like, true. He is truly the villain of her entire existence. That, like, I do think it's really hard to imagine her. If Caroline crumbled right now, I think we'd actually have, like, negative reactions towards her. Of like, how could you do that to Elena?
Also, it is so real, like, especially, like, we'll see in a later scene of Caroline being like, Tyler's the one, of course I love him. Like, I don't know, I feel like that's just so true to, like, you know, a 16 or 17 year old.
Well, and the other thing too is, like, you know, they had a really weird messy breakup that isn't Tyler's fault at all. It's Klaus's fault, actually, which makes this whole thing even weirder.
Also ambiguous breakup. Are they broken up? Are they not?
That's the other thing is I actually give her a lot of props for being very, very loyal to Tyler in all of this.
She's better than me. She really
She's better than all of us.
She is.
But yeah, I don't know. So I actually really agree with them, like the way that they did pretty much all of this. I think that's why Caroline is so appealing, is because they wrote it so well.
I mean, it worked. I love them so much. They're my favorite ship.
They are my favorite ship too.
But
anyway, less favorite things inside. In the study, Esther is lighting candles, catching us up on the lore, and she's, you know, saying that she upset the balance of nature by turning her children into vampires. It was to protect them from werewolves at first, but in no time they began to feed on humans. And she says they ravaged the town with no remorse. And she then says, eventually Klaus turned against me, and Elena asks, how are you going to kill him? He's immortal. And Esther says it will take time and magic and your assistance. And Elena's like, what do I have to do with it?
Girl, you should know by now.
You should know by now that magical doppelganger essence is all it takes. But anyway, Esther explains to her, my children believe I'm holding this ball to celebrate our reunion, but in truth, I've gathered them together to perform a ritual. She's crazy. I love her.
She is.
And she says the first step requires blood from the doppelganger. Elena obviously like is immediately terrified and like kind of backs up like, what? So you are going to kill me? But yeah, of course.
I have more to say.
Esther immediately clarifies like, just a drop.
Yeah, not like the whole draining thing.
Yeah, I'm not going to literally kill you right now. It's only the essence of your blood. It will be in the champagne toast later on this evening. And she asks, will you do it or shall I? And Esther holds the long knife that Finn had. She holds it out to Elena, and Elena starts to remove her gloves, and she gives her finger to Esther, and Esther pricks it and squeezes like a couple little drops of blood into a glass chalice that's filled with liquid.
She's not going to ask, hey, what's this going to do?
Elena does not care.
She does not care.
She knows it's what's going to kill Klaus, and that's all she cares about. So she just was like, yep, okay.
I guess, but I feel like she should be, like, clued in. She's like, you know, my children think this. I'm going to gather them all together. I feel like she should be getting...
She should ask questions. But Elena is, like... She's 18 years old. She's not thinking.
She's not asking questions.
She's also like being told, oh, you're going to get this magical answer on how to finally kill Klaus, something you've been working at for like a year plus.
Yeah.
Again, the villain of your whole life and story.
Yeah.
She just immediately goes along, no questions asked. And so the blood is in the chalice, and Esther says, Elijah is more suspicious than the others, so he may need more persuasion, but they must all drink at the toast in order to be linked as one. And Elena's obviously like, huh? What do you mean linked as one? And Esther explains, you said yourself Klaus can't be killed, but tonight's spell links all my children together so that if one goes, they all go. And Elena's obviously so taken aback. Again, like your point, why did she not ask these questions before doing it?
Like, don't look so surprised. You didn't ask a single question.
But I think if Esther told her that, she still probably would have done it anyway. What was she going to do? Say no?
Yes,
and then Esther would hunt her down?
So, it's probably true, but still.
And Esther explains to Elena, I love my family, but they are an abomination. And she says, I betrayed nature when I created them. It's my duty to kill them. She's so smart to do this during the ball. Like, a quiet way to meet with Elena, a quiet way to, like, get, you know, her family in this ritual and everything. Like you said, she's been spending 1,000 years scheming this. She knew every moment of how this all was going to go down.
She knew what decorator she would call on. Like, she knew.
She knew. On the other side, she's looking through catalogs for gowns. But she figured this all out. It was a brilliant way to bring her family together, to keep them distracted. And again, like, having distractions kind of there for them was really smart. But yeah, it's crazy that just a couple drops of Elena's blood in the champagne is enough to, like, complete this spell. It's literally just the essence. I found that very interesting, a weird fact that I'm sure we could talk about more as we see the champagne toast.
I have so much more to say once we see this little toast. But of course, got to check back in with Cole and Rebecca. In the foyer, Cole and Rebecca are walking together, and he says he's itching to kill something and kind of asks, like, what are we waiting for? Like, let's just kill someone. Of course. Yeah. Very Cole. And Rebecca tells Cole to give her 15 minutes and she'll lure Matt outside and they can kill him. And Cole is like, outside? Yeah. What's wrong with right here on the stairs? Let's make a spectacle of it.
Yeah, and he's smiling. Yeah. He's so excited.
He's so excited. But Rebecca is basically like, no, you're being an idiot. Like, come on. We're not going to ruin Mother's Night. Like, I'll see you outside. And back in the other room... So they're going to go do that. And then back in another room where Damon got his back snapped. Yeah. He's finally waking up and Stefan is like, easy, buddy. Don't want you doing anything stupid. And Damon gets up and rushes at Stefan and asks, where's Elena? And Stefan tells him that Elena is talking with Esther and not to blame him because it was all Elena's idea. Right down to the broken neck.
Ugh, yeah.
That's got to hurt. And Stefan pushes Damon off of him, and they're kind of fighting and arguing, and says, maybe you should stop being a controlling dick, Damon. And Damon is like, wait, what is going on? Yeah. I'm the problem here? And Stefan is like, you're a liability, brother. These two. Yeah. Stefan has been waiting. He's been waiting to have this out.
Waiting for this moment.
And Damon tells Stefan that he's trying to keep Elena alive. And Stefan is like, yeah, well... Your emotions are getting in the way of our plan. Our plan. I thought that was interesting. Yeah. And Damon is like, my emotions? How is this even happening to me right now? Yeah. And Stefan tells him, maybe because you just cared too damn much.
Yep. And he just turns and walks out. He just leaves.
Walks away.
Stefan sucks for this.
I know. I was thinking, I thought to myself, I was like, he's taking it a little bit far. Yeah. But it probably feels so good for him to finally be able to throw it back in Damon's face.
It definitely does, but it's just so not like a fair... Because it's not even true, like, any of what he's saying.
I know.
And again, the, like, not caring about Elena's life and that stuff. Like, he's just, again, the denial humanity phase thing of, like, being... I don't know, just like wanting to lash out, I guess, and pretend you don't
definitely.
Care. It's just such a low blow for Damon, and we'll see the consequences of that later.
Yes.
But first, we have to check in on the Rebecca Cole plan to kill Matt. Rebecca and Matt are walking outside through the cars parked on the lawn, and Matt asks, "So, what are we doing out here? Really, what's going on?" And Rebecca says, just taking a break from the chit chat. And he's sort of like looking around and he says, it's freezing. Let me get my coat. And he walks over to his truck that happens to be right there. And Rebecca's like, this is your car? And Matt goes and gets his jacket out of it. And he's like, yep, if I could compel myself a Maserati, I would, but I can't. And then he takes his jacket and puts it over Rebecca's shoulders. And she tries to stop him, starting to say, oh, I'm a vampire. Vampires don't get cold? That's like a new lore drop.
Yeah,
okay.
I guess not.
Why are they always bundled up when they go to like cold activities and stuff? Like the island
I
in
guess
the next
to like
episode.
fake fit in. I don't know.
Oh, I guess that is. But still, it's weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, that also just makes me think of season 1 with Anna, who's clearly freezing.
I know, she's clearly freezing to death. Yeah.
But whatever. Like, Matt gives her kind of a look that cuts her off, and she stops and instead says, thanks. And it's such like a sweet little moment of her getting the coat from him. And she starts to look around kind of getting nervous and is like, let's go back inside.
Yeah.
I got all the fresh air I need.
I'm good. Yep.
And then we see in the shadows, Cole like comes out kind of looking devilish and disappointed. You know, obviously that's not going to be the end of his game.
Definitely
Rebecca tried to kill
not.
his fun. Not working.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Back upstairs, we see
In the main space.
Yeah, in the main space. We see Elena, walking away from her little meeting with Esther. And Elijah comes up to her and asks how Esther was. And Elena is very clearly, like, nervous. But I think she plays it off all right. She just says intense. And Elijah asks why Esther needed to speak with her in private. And then, Elijah takes a glass of champagne off of, like, a tray that's being passed around and gives it to Elena, which at this point I'm already so distracted because the champagne is so red.
Yeah.
It's more noticeable when they actually go to do the toast, but is there such a thing as red champagne
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it is. There's definitely pink champagne, so I would assume it's just some variant of that.
It's so red. It was very
funny.
distracting to me. I was like, because they had also in an earlier scene, they had regular champagne.
Yes, that's kind of why it's funny. But it makes sense, I think, in a way, to be like, obviously they want the viewers to be like, it's supposed to have the blood essence in it. But obviously it's such a minuscule amount in each glass. My question with it is, how did she get the blood in all of the glasses? Because it's different. It's like she's got one big vat of champagne and she's like mixing in the blood drops to it. I'm like, I don't know how you get it mixed into every single one.
No, I have no idea.
Because there's no coordinated effort about how they get the glasses they get, the originals. Everyone's just getting random glasses. So clearly everyone's drinking an essence of Elena's blood.
Well, that was the other question I had. Like, I guess it's probably because of the family bond between all of them, but is this linking everyone? Like, how is it not? It makes no sense. I'm
sure there's some way the target can be like the Mikaelson bloodline or something.
I guess it must be. And that's probably why she takes Finn's blood later. Like, I guess that's what does it. But I don't know. It just seemed interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, they get their red, pink champagne, whatever. And Elena notices Esther come out on the staircase again and, like, looking at her. And she kind of still hasn't answered Elijah's question at this point.
Now she's just staring at Esther.
Yeah, she's just looking at Esther. So Elijah asks her again, like, should I be concerned about my mother's intentions? And Elena says Esther just wanted to apologize for trying to have her killed. And Elijah asks, like, so it's true then? She's forgiven Klaus. And Elena says, yes, it's true. And just then we hear the clinking of a toast starting. We see, like, Esther go to start addressing the guests from the staircase. She has a glass of the champagne too. And she says, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Waiters are coming around with the champagne. I invite you all to join me in raising a glass. It provides me with no greater joy than to see my family back together as one. And I'd like to thank you all for being part of this evening. And she cheers. And then everyone cheers and drinks. And we see all of
Cole,
the originals.
Then Rebecca. Then Finn. And then Klaus take a sip from their glasses.
And then finally, Elijah, definitely the most suspicious. But he does say cheers to Elena. And they clink their glasses together and they both drink.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. He kind of waits until she sips her drink and then he sips.
Yep. I was like, he knows.
Yeah, and it's so funny though, but it's like he knows something's up, but it's just kind of like weird to be suspicious of like a drink. Like he definitely has no reason to be, which is why he drinks
He drinks a drink. Yeah, he's just like whatever. Because also, like you said, like every single person in the place has this drink. Champagne. Like there's no targeting any one specific person.
Yeah.
So the drink is probably fine, but he knows. Like, his face is so obviously,
he's waiting until she does it. He's keeping an eye on her. And I love the dramatic sound effects they do as each original takes their little drink. It's like, you know, like classic of like, something crazy just happened. Yep. The spell has started. Like, it's so dramatic.
It's so good.
But now, one of my favorite scenes. Later, we see Klaus and Caroline are alone in a room filled with paintings on the wall. Clearly Klaus's studio. And Caroline asks, so what did you want to show me? And he says, one of my passions. Caroline, she's just willing to follow him around to like look at stuff with him now. Like, she was earlier like, I'm not even talking to you. Now she's willingly going off into a room alone with him, which is just funny. But anyway, she's like looking around at the art, and she says, impressive. I take it the curators at the Louvre aren't on Vervain. And he kind of laughs at her and says, yeah, that's their mistake. And then she laughs too. I love that they like are appreciating each other's humor and having like a normal connection like with each other in this moment. It's again why people like them and are interested in them. But anyway, Caroline holds her wrist out with the bracelet on it and asks, what about these? Where did you steal these from? And he says, that's a long story, but rest assured it was worn by a princess almost as beautiful as you. And she immediately like rolls her eyes and scoffs and looks away. And Klaus just also looks away like, oh, lame, why did you even say that? That was the best I had. Yeah, he's like, oh man, she didn't like that one. Yeah. Like, he's trying so hard to flirt and impress her, and it's just not really, it's like on and off working, but mostly not working. And she looks down and heavily sighs, and she notices on the table all of these sketches. And somehow she like realizes, she's like, wait, did you do these? And he suddenly like gets kind of like shy and is like, yeah. And he's like looking around, and he says, actually, one of my landscapes is hanging at the Hermitage. Not that anyone would notice. And then he says, have you been? And she says, I've not really been anywhere. Hate when they remind us that she's 18.
Yeah, that's a little unfortunate.
But
it doesn't matter to me.
It doesn't matter because he says, I'll take you wherever you want. Rome, Paris, Tokyo. And they both start laughing and are kind of like enjoying the conversation. Like, I feel like they're vibing on this. Like, they definitely are both people that love to, like, I don't know, experience culture in the world and everything. And crazy that her destiny is to eventually like travel the world and see everything. Again, so like suited for each other. But unfortunately, it can't really be that nice because this is Klaus we're talking about. So Caroline, of course, says, must be nice to snap your fingers and get everything you want. And she asks, is that why you collect hybrids? A little servant army to take you places and bring you things? And he says, you're making assumptions. And she asks, then why do you need Tyler? Stop controlling him. Give him his life back. And Klaus is like over it at this point, no longer having fun. And he says, you know, this has been a fun evening, but I think it's time for you to leave. And she doesn't back down, which is exactly why he likes her. Of course not, yeah. And she says, I get it. Your father didn't love you, so you assume that no one else will either. And that's why you compel people, or you sire them, or you try to buy them off. And then she takes her bracelet off and throws it on the ground and says, but that's not how it works. And then she says, you don't connect with people because you don't even try to understand them. And she just like storms out, leaving Klaus standing there looking visibly upset. So, iconic Caroline scene. Klaus really loves a woman who will psychoanalyze him. This is probably the moment that completely sold him on her.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. I love them. I'll take you. Oh my god.
I know. I love,
like, without missing a beat, he was like, I'll take you.
Yeah, like, let's travel the world together. Yeah. Who cares about Mystic Falls? I'm over it anyway.
You don't have to graduate high school. It's fine.
So that's the one thing I do hate about this conversation is the weird reminder of, like, she hasn't been anywhere because she's 18.
I know.
She's still in high school. And you offering to take her all around the world is kind of,
it's iffy. It's iffy.
Within the context of the show and romantasy and all of that, you kind of have to, you know, ignore the real world implications of all of that. But it is a little like, oof, don't remind me.
I know. That was my one reservation. I thought it in a couple other scenes too. I was like,
yeah,
she's just a girl.
Yeah. But yeah, she's literally 18 years old. Freshly, she turned 18 like this week.
That's true. Klaus
heard she turned 18 this week and was like, now's my time to shine.
Oh no.
But we anyway, I still love them. I know. I still love them.
I do too. Yeah.
In the context of romantasy, anything's fine. It's fine.
I guess so.
Whatever.
Things that are about to be not fine.
Yeah.
Cole walks up to Rebecca somewhere else in the house, and Cole's like, I was waiting for you outside to kill Matt. And Rebecca tells him that she changed her mind. She doesn't want to ruin her mother's night. So, they'll just behave. And Cole's like, don't tell me you like this boy. What did he do? Did he give you 5 seconds of his attention? Don't be so predictable, Rebecca. I love this. I don't know. It works so well for siblings. Like, just being like, she's...
Yeah.
Oh, Rebecca, she's just like this.
Yeah, but
I
hate this
too hard on her.
Yeah, the brothers are all so mean to Rebecca.
I know.
Like, they can't let her have anything.
I know. I was thinking this in the next episode, especially.
Yeah.
I was like, we've gone too far.
Yeah.
Like, the good sibling vibe. I'm like, they could dial it back a little bit.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're just playing for now. And Rebecca tells Cole that he doesn't have to be rude about it.
Yeah.
And then tells him to just leave Matt be. Like, leave him alone. And Rebecca walks away, and Cole says... As you wish, sister.
Yeah.
Obviously not going to leave it alone at all. He has like a little sly smirk on his face.
Yeah, of course. He's like a dog with a scent. Like, as soon as he's pointed in a direction, like, he's going.
Matt's dead.
Yeah.
But downstairs in the foyer, in like the big ballroom, we see Damon like walking up behind Elena and catching up with her. And he asks Elena if she got what she wanted. And Elena tells him, yes, she did actually. And Damon kind of like goes to grab her arm and says, good, we're leaving, come on. And Elena tells him to let go of her. But she like apologizes for leaving him out of the plan because obviously he's clearly upset. And Damon is just like, there shouldn't be a plan. Like, you shouldn't have come here. And Elena is just like, do you think I like having to go behind your back? Like, I don't. If I hadn't asked Stefan to help, then you would have tried to be the hero, and it would have ruined everything. It's only going to get worse, but not great. And Damon just says, sorry for trying to keep you alive. Like, clearly Stefan doesn't give a crap anymore. And Elena asks, like, are you mad at me for including Stefan? And Damon, without thinking, says, no, I'm mad at you because I love you.
Yeah, he yells it too. It explodes out of him.
Yeah, I'm trying to protect you, the listeners' ears. But yeah, he's like screaming at her. And very charged moment. And they both just have to take a beat. Like, if there's like a little moment where no one says anything. And Elena says, maybe that's the problem. And Damon is so clearly hurt by her saying that. So she tries to say, no, that's not what I meant. But before she can really say any more, he cuts her off and is like, no, I get it. I'm a liability because I care too much. Exactly what Stefan said. And just then, before they can really have this all out, Caroline comes up to them and asks if they've even seen Matt anywhere because no one cares what's happening to Matt.
Yeah, nobody's bodyguarding him.
Yeah, he's getting lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
But... oh, Elena, dagger.
She should not have said that. I think she knows immediately that she should not have said that. Like, her face, she does this, like, slow blink, and they just stare at each other.
Yeah,
for a second. Like, did she really just say that? Both of them. Yeah, I don't know. I love Damon, of course, but I do think this whole situation just really sucks generally for everyone involved. Like, he is such a baby and lashes out when people don't follow his plan. And
I know. I was thinking, like, some of his lines were, like, the petty, childish
yes.
you were talking about with Klaus. I was like, Damon had a lot of those in this scene, too.
Yeah, and I get it that he's trying to protect her, but, like, he's not even trying to work with her on, like, let's figure out how you can meet with Esther and let me stand outside the door or something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. He's not willing to participate at all. He's just like the way he's like trying to drag her out too.
The grabbing her arm, I was like, it's too much.
Yeah, because he was really yanking her out and she has to tell him like, let go of me.
Yeah.
That's where he's like taking it too far. So it's like I do feel really sympathetic to him, especially after this point, but I don't know, it's so hard because I do think he is being a brat a little bit.
He is. Oh, he definitely is, and not in the fun way.
Yeah,
not brat.
Yeah, not Charlie XCX.
Yeah, no.
But anyway, speaking of brat, maybe the most brat-esque person in the show is Cole.
Yeah, he really is.
But before we get to that, upstairs, Matt is walking around when he hears his name being whispered from the balcony. Matt.
I burst out laughing.
It's so funny of him.
I loved it.
And Matt just like stops in his tracks, obviously. And he walks out onto the balcony like, huh? But nobody is there. And he turns around and is like about to leave the balcony when suddenly Cole appears behind him, standing on the balcony and says, "Good evening, you're Rebecca's friend. We haven't met." And they introduce each other, they say their names, and they start to shake hands. And then Cole starts squeezing Matt's hand so tightly that you can audibly hear the sound of bones cracking. And Matt starts yelling in pain and he like falls to the floor when Damon appears right behind him, who is just primed for a fight, as we've talked about a couple of times this episode.
Desperate
and he's
for
like,
one.
hey, easy on the hand. Guy's a quarterback. And Cole and Damon, like, start to smile evilly at each other, and then they both start, like, grunting. Like, they make these weird grumbly sounds. And Damon rushes at Cole, fully pushing him off the balcony. And then he jumps over the side of the balcony on top. He lands on top of Cole. And he starts punching him and beating up. And then he immediately starts, like, pushing his neck as far as he can in order to snap his neck off so that, like, obviously he gets knocked out. So they're like, he kills Cole in the front yard, basically. And Stefan comes running out the front door of, like, the main building. And he's like, Damon, are you crazy? And the rest of the Mikaelsons, you see, like, in order, Finn, Rebecca, Elijah, Klaus, they're all there. They come out with Elena running out.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all, like, looking to see what happened, of course. And Damon's like, maybe a little. And he looks at Elena and says, far be it for me to cause a problem. And he just turns around and starts walking away. Everyone in the background just looking shocked. And I thought Klaus looked amused, personally.
Yeah, I think so, too.
But most of them looked shocked.
Yeah.
But it was perfect. Damon versus Cole, like we kind of already talked about. They match vibes in an interesting way of, like, the chaos. And it was perfect, obviously, because, of course, the originals are like, that's Cole. We know it was his fault.
Oh, Cole.
They don't even immediately go after Damon or anything because they're like, we know it was Cole's fault.
Yeah.
Like, we know
he'll be back.
Like,
he'll be
of course
fine.
that was him. Like, the fact they all ran out to look and nobody even really
then
reacted.
They were like,
they were like, oh, it's just Cole.
Oh, we're good. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
Course. If it were anybody else, this would be, like, immediate, like, fighting grounds.
Yep.
But, it's cool. It's probably his fault. So,
and it was.
It was. But anyway.
But that's pretty much a party killer.
Yeah.
that ends it all. And then later at the Forbes house, Caroline is in her bedroom and she's calling Tyler. She's leaving a message for him saying she's grateful that he's trying to break the sire bond, but that she misses him and wishes he was there. Then she kind of hangs up, she's left her message, and she looks in her dresser mirror and notices on her bed that there's another present, presumably from Klaus, of course. Yeah. It has, like, the white ribbon from before and pretty clearly, like, a gift from him. Yeah. Who else would it be? She scoffs and gives her seriously again and says, just give up already. Girl, take your own advice. Give up on Tyler.
Yeah.
That's all I could think. But anyway, she goes and opens the present, and it looks like it's going to be like a bracelet. Or
it's like a bracelet
returning
box.
The bracelet, maybe. And it's like a long skinny box.
She's, like, laughing at how ridiculous this whole thing is as she's opening it. Because it does seem like it's like a return of the bracelet.
Yes, exactly. But she opens it and takes out a rolled up piece of paper, and it's a sketch of her and a horse. And like in the bottom right hand corner, it has written, "Thank you for your honesty, Klaus."
Yeah. Her laughing immediately stops. When she sees that, she, like, looks so thoughtful, like, recalculating everything. Yep. Like, wait a second.
She's
this
like,
is so out of character.
Yeah.
They just didn't even realize how primed we were for Caroline at this point. Like,
I know.
Especially, too, with Tyler, like, feeling like he just doesn't even deserve to be with Caroline right now in this weird way. Which they've, like, told us so many times. And, like, yeah, he is doing the work. But I just feel like they did too much damage to his character.
I think so, too.
To, like, even feel like a love triangle situation, it's like kind of already over that.
Also, sending him completely away, like, no notice, nothing. I don't know.
After her dad died and she literally needed the support of someone she loves, like, being there for her. Completely crazy.
Yeah.
And Klaus is so smooth with it too. He knew the fancy expensive gifts weren't working, so he, like, had to up the game. I kept noticing he was doing that in the conversations too, where he'd, like, try, like, an avenue of conversation and it wouldn't work, so he'd, like, pivot. He's like, she doesn't like talking about this thing, let me compliment her. That works. Like, I don't know, it is like he is like that type of guy who likes, like, the game of, like, the chase, like he likes to figure her out, which I like. So I don't know, I like it. But anyway, it's just funny to imagine that Cole's getting his head popped off by Damon in the front yard. Klaus sees that and immediately goes inside, like, sorry guys, I gotta work.
It's like, I have things to do.
Yeah,
I know, I thought that too. It's like, he whipped this up in a moment.
Yeah. And I just also like to imagine if Cole or any of the others saw that, they'd be like, buddy, what's wrong with you? Why are you doing this right now?
Definitely be.
They'd roast him so hard.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Except for Rebecca, who'd probably just, like, light the house on fire.
Yeah, she'd probably, like, go kill Caroline.
Yeah. She'd be like, I can't stand for this.
Truly.
But anyway, of course, the Mikaelsons.
They are the Elijahs.
My favorite family, the Elijahs. Anyway, they have other stuff to worry about, which is why they don't notice Klaus painting. So Esther's in her study, and Elijah's now with her. And Esther is yelling. She's like, no violence. That was all I asked. And she says, like, Rebecca and Cole disgraced our family tonight. As I said, they all knew this was Cole's fault. Nobody's even surprised for a second that this was because of Cole. It has nothing to do with Damon. And Elijah promises, it won't happen again, Mother. I'll deal with them. And Esther says, thank you, Elijah. I wish the others were more like you. And she puts a hand on his cheek. And he kind of like squints, like really examining her. You can tell he's kind of calculating and thinking as she's put her hand on his cheek. And he puts his hand there and kind of like removes her hand but is like holding it, and they're just looking at each other, and he starts to slowly sort of back up and leave the room as Finn comes in, and he's like really looking at both of them. You can see Elijah's doing the math.
He knows.
Yeah, he's trying, but he doesn't know. He's like, something's up.
Yeah.
But what? So he leaves, and Finn comes in and he shuts the doors, and he asks, are we all right to speak freely? And Esther says, the sage still burns. And Esther then starts writing down all of her children's names on a piece of paper in the runic handwriting that we'll see. And Finn is asking her while she's doing this, you aren't having second thoughts, are you? And she says, of course not. It's just Elijah. He's so moral. Which is crazy to me that Esther just admits to Finn, like, I don't mind killing the rest of you, but Elijah? He's such a good guy. He's such a good guy.
Yeah, I was just saying, Klaus and Rebecca, okay. But Elijah?
To say it to Finn's face, to be like, yeah, you can die too.
Especially because I feel like Finn is always, like, he's very self-righteous. He's like, I'm the moral one. He
wants to be the moral one, for sure. That's a whole thing in the originals.
Yeah.
With the categorizations of them in the chambre de chasse that we love to talk about.
The chambre de chasse. Don't even get me started.
Yeah, Finn definitely thinks of himself as, like, the moral, righteous person. So it's funny that she says this to him.
She's like, oh, he's so moral.
Yeah.
How could I kill Elijah?
Yeah, we couldn't. But anyway, Finn reassures her, saying, you're doing the right thing, Mother. And she asks, you understand what this means, don't you? This spell I'm casting tonight, it will bind all of you together as one. And he confirms, I understand. When it is time, I will be ready to die. This is like the first we're kind of like really piecing together all of what's going on. And she says that we must complete the link. And Esther cuts Finn's hand, and blood spills all over the paper with the names on it. And she starts reciting a spell. And we see the blood, like, across the scroll moving to each one of the names, like branches of a tree. And so it goes to each of the originals' names. And with each of them, we see flashes of them drinking the champagne as the blood hits their name. And then the linking spell is complete with the branches of the tree. It's so iconic to me.
It is.
Each of their names, the blood, the music is so memorable to me. I love this scene. But I also think with the music, it reminds me of the ultimate weapon when she makes the steak at the end. So I'm assuming it also plays then.
Yeah, probably. It would make sense.
Yeah. But then anyway, as the spell obviously completes, she says, the link is complete. You are one. And then the paper just bursts into flames.
Yep.
Drama.
Yeah.
Obviously spelling bad times for the originals in the next episode.
I love this. I love the visual of the tree and everything. I wish they'd really taken sips. Like, it's so obvious in the close-ups that they did, like, the fake sip. Every single one of them. But I was like, it just took me out of it for a second. But I love the visual of the blood family tree.
Yeah, it's so cool. And the music, the epicness of the magic. We always love, like, a cool magical spell. And this is definitely a cool one.
Yeah.
Especially, too, when you're like, how does this work? Like, I still don't really understand as a first-time viewer, like, how this is even going down. We'll learn more about it in the next one.
Yes, definitely. But we have to check back in with Elena and Stefan first. We see they're getting home to Elena's house, and Stefan walks Elena inside. And they're talking about Esther's plan, and that Elena is like, I had to look Elijah right in the eye and lie to him about it. And Stefan is just like, good. Can't say I'm sorry to see any of them go. And Elena is like, I just signed their death sentences, Stefan. And he says, no, you signed Klaus's death sentence, Elena. Everyone else is just collateral damage. And Elena tries to tell him it's not that simple. And Stefan is like, but it is. They have brought you nothing but darkness. And then Stefan asks, where's Damon? I'm surprised he didn't want to make sure you got home safely. And Elena says she'll call him and let him know. And then Stefan asks her why Damon went after Cole. And Elena says it was just Damon being self-destructive because she said something she didn't mean, which I thought was interesting. So I'm like, he was also saving Matt's life.
Yeah.
Which they don't know, of course, but I don't know. It's just interesting perceptions of Damon. But anyway, she says it was just Damon being self-destructive. And Stefan says, you know, because Elena had said she said something she didn't mean. And Stefan says, so did I. Anyway, good night. And he tries to leave and he gets, you know, out the door. And Elena goes after him and says, you know, wait, like, you really didn't feel anything. And Stefan asks her when. And she just says, how do you do that? How do you act like you don't care, like you don't feel anything? Because I can't do that. I feel everything. Mm-hmm. And Stefan tells her to stop. And she says, no, I'm not going to stop because I don't believe that you feel nothing. Mm-hmm. And Stefan asks her if she thinks he wants to be this person, the person that hurt her, that bit her. Like, he hates himself for what he did to her. And at this point, Elena grabs Stefan's face in her hands and tells him to show it then. Show that he cares. Do something. Because anything is better than trying to convince her that he doesn't care. And he just says he can't. And he grabs her hands and removes them from his face. And he says, if I let myself care, all I feel is pain. And then he leaves. And Elena is very clearly like...
Yeah, she's left there thinking about all of that.
She's thinking about things.
Yeah.
Stefan, so baby girl to me. Like,
yeah. Interesting. Not that I don't feel for him, but I found this scene really interesting from his perspective. Yeah. The first part, especially, when they're sort of arguing about, like, who cares? Let them all die. Mm-hmm. Why feel bad about Elijah? Like, I was like... This is where Stefan is so not really, like, the Stefan that Elena fell in love with. Like, this is so different. The lack of, like, empathy is just not what the person Elena fell in love with. And I think it's interesting because I don't know if he ever really gets back to that place. I hadn't really thought about it before, but I don't know that he ever does. And I just found it a bit jarring, I guess, of, like, in starting to think of him less and less as the no-humanity Stefan, that he's still kind of, like, acting this way and holding those beliefs of, like, who cares if everybody dies? It's collateral damage. I was like, it's just really crazy that Stefan, I think on a base level, has changed that much from the first person, who I think the original Stefan would have been like, you're right, let's find a way to save Elijah. Like, I don't know.
I mean, I think, yes, Stefan has changed, but I also think it's just so different because, like he said to Elena, all they've brought you is darkness. Like, I feel like in Stefan's mind, you know, if this were, like, we're talking about Matt dying, I feel like it would be so different than, like,
but that's
everyone dying. Like, all the originals.
Of course. But I think that's the thing that's interesting is I think the Stefan that she fell in love with initially would have been empathetic to that. And the fact that he isn't, I don't know, is interesting. Like, I think Elena and Stefan, we used to talk about this all the time in season 1, and we haven't been able to talk about it in forever, is that their whole thing is, like, this empathy and sensitivity and understanding people, even if they've caused you darkness or pain. And it's interesting here to see, like, he has been so irrevocably changed by everything that's happened that he no longer even holds that sort of core belief anymore. I don't know. I think it's interesting. But, of course, there is that piece there in the scene, and that's for Damon, of them both acknowledging, like, that they were unnecessarily cruel to him and that clearly they both feel really bad about having affected Damon in that way and having caused, like, pain for him. I think that's interesting how they sort of... They don't say it, of course, but they're both sort of acknowledging it in the, I said something I didn't mean, so did I. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's an interesting, like, thing to acknowledge for the two of them. And then the big question for me in this scene is, what did Elena mean when she asked him about, did you feel anything? Like, what was she thinking of a specific moment? Because it sounds like she's thinking of a specific moment, but she doesn't, because he asks when, and she doesn't elaborate. So I was speculating a lot. I'm curious if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if she's necessarily pointing to any specific moment. I definitely thought a possibility was the dance earlier between the two of them.
That's what I thought was,
Yeah, I think, because I think it's pretty obvious that she feels something during that dance.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think there's also the possibility that she means the whole time his humanity was off, when he was trying to kill her, any time. I think she could also, like, maybe she sort of meant it when she asked, like, about the dance, but then in a way, she also kind of meant about everything. But I don't know. I was thinking probably the dance is what she's thinking of. Because she definitely, I think the looks on her face, it's pretty clear she feels something.
Yeah, that's kind of how I read it too, was that this whole night had, for her, brought up a lot of old feelings that she was definitely trying to grapple with and like understand. And that did you really not feel anything was in reference to that. But I do think it's interesting to think about it in relation to just the whole time with no humanity. Because she does go on to say, like, because I feel everything all the time, so I can't imagine what it's like to not. I don't know. So interesting. I really like the scene. I like the score and the music a lot. It feels very epic, which fits their vibe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's crazy that Elena is still fighting for Stefan in this way when, I don't know, I do really honestly believe they're done, like we talked about in the last episode, the last one before.
Yeah.
I think I personally read this scene, though, more as, like, she's trying to, like, save him.
Yeah.
Than win him back, necessarily.
Yeah. I don't think I got, like, win him back vibes from it at all. Yeah. I could see that. I think she is just trying to, you know, get him back to where he was more than anything. Not necessarily, like, to be with
together.
him again. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Because I do think I could fully understand, especially, like, a Selena shipper reading this scene as being, like her
so
hand on
together.
His face.
Yeah,
and, like, they'll let me in. Whatever. I don't know. I do think that they're, like, fight for this.
Yeah.
Like, it does feel like it's romantic coded in a way. But I don't think she's even coming from that place there. So I think it's interesting.
I don't really think she is either. No, I don't think so.
Anyway, clearly not a romantic place. Moving along. At the Mystic Grill, Matt is sitting at the bar drinking coffee. He has a bandage over his hand, which was crushed by Cole.
Yep.
And Rebecca walks up to him and asks what he's doing. And he says, I went to the dance. I got my hand crushed. I found out that I don't have health insurance, so I just needed a minute to myself. Not Matt not having health insurance. No. Cruel from the writers.
Yeah.
And Rebecca says, well, I thought maybe I'd buy you an apology drink. How about pays medical bills,
yeah,
Rebecca?
What? I thought that too.
All,
I was like, what is she saying? I was like, Rebecca's so out of touch. Like, like she just can't even fathom like this human existence, which is funny because it's like her whole thing that she wants to be human. But like the comment about the car and everything, I'm like,
she
doesn't can't even get it.
Which like the next thing is that he says, maybe you could just leave me alone. The classic Matt smoothness.
Yeah.
But obviously it is coming from a real place of like being associated to you directly puts my life in danger.
For sure.
So like I'm not gonna do that. And Rebecca says, like, I'm really sorry about Cole. He's a lunatic. Acting like this is something they could just breeze past and ignore. But Matt explains, look, Rebecca, you're really fun and pretty and all, but I really need you to leave me alone. Again, he could die by hanging out with her. So, yes, of course he should, you know, whatever. So he gets up and leaves. And then Damon walks up to Rebecca carrying a, like, empty bottle of alcohol.
Empty, yeah.
And Damon says, burn. Rejected by the captain of the football team. Welcome to adolescence. And he's, like, drinking the very last bit of the bottle and finishes it. And Rebecca says, shut up, Damon. Knew I should have killed him. Mother wouldn't let me. Rebecca. You think you're having a breakthrough and then you're not.
You're not.
And so Damon grabs another liquor bottle from the counter since he finished his. And he says, well, never let people tell you what to do. And he pours himself a shot and he pours one for Rebecca and they both take their shots. And he says, besides, you would have broken him in a second. And she says, are you suggesting I can't be gentle? And he says, no, I'm saying that you should find someone a little more durable. That's all. And she asks, and who would that be? And they exchange a look before we get a quick cut to one of my most cursed pairs. Rebecca and Damon burst into his room in a heated makeout session. They're like vamp rushing around each other, like flipping, you know, sides and whatever. And like they're literally ripping each other's clothes off. Like her gown gets totally torn up. And Damon's kissing down her neck. It's so steamy.
Yeah, the CW was really towing a line here.
Yeah, pushing boundaries for sure. Yeah. But they're both hot individually, so I don't blame them, but I personally just hate it. It just feels wrong to me.
Yeah, on that level it works, I guess, but yeah.
But no others.
No one's favorite ship, let's put it that way.
No. If it is, you're so crazy.
That's so wild.
I want to ask you so many questions. But also it makes me wonder, did Ian get to make out with literally every woman on the show? Because I kind of think he did.
I think so.
Yeah, except
genuinely.
Bonnie. Of course not. What do you mean, thank God? I feel like that's like the one makeout people want most, Bonnie and Damon.
I guess, but I like them as friends.
I like them as friends, but I wouldn't have been opposed to like a little Prison World makeout sesh.
Oh, I mean, it happened. We all know. We all know canonically it happened.
Exactly. But anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's pretty much it for
yeah.
behind the scenes. Like it was just Ian and Kat. Anyway.
We'll turn it over to her.
I was going to say, this is such a bad end to like such a great episode because it's just a scene that I'm like, okay. But anyway.
We still have to get into the outfits and everything too.
That's true. We have more in the outro.
That'll be good. But first, let's hear from our voicemail host.
Hi. First, I just want to say that I really enjoy your podcast, and I really enjoy when you digress into laughing bits. I think it's sometimes the best part of the podcast. I also like it when you guys disagree on song choice or out-of-pocket moment. I think you guys should keep it to where you both have a choice at the end of the show because sometimes your choices are drastically different, and I like the rationale behind each one of your choices. So moving on to this week's episode, I know we've talked about it before on the podcast, but I think it's a missed opportunity between Elijah and Elena. I love their moments of tenderness and consideration, especially in this episode. I know it would have been too much for the plot, but I just really enjoy their characters together and the symbolism of having the doppelganger back kind of playing a role in their lives, just like how it's come up again for Stefan and Damon. So I think that would have been neat to tap into that. One question I had is, how did Stefan not know that the Mikaelsons are the original family? I get that he was kind of maybe off doing his own thing at that time with Klaus when they discovered all that, but was he not looped back into the picture at some point? It just seems kind of like a random plot point to bring up to me. A hilarious moment. I loved it when Caroline says that she was Miss Mystic. Seems kind of so silly and childish to me, but then I thought it was sweet when Klaus said that he knew. And then, of course, Matt saying that he doesn't have health insurance is so on brand, but also just so random and out of pocket to me. Like, they had to throw that in there just to, again, make us feel so sorry for Matt and his life situation. Thank you for creating this podcast. I love listening to it. It's my favorite part of Thursday morning. Thank you.
Thank you to our voicemail hosts. We love hearing from you guys, especially for an episode as iconic as this.
Yeah, lots to be
said. So many things to say. Yeah. Things that we really need to talk about, obviously. Wanted to talk about them all together at the end of the episode. Outfits.
Yeah, of course.
I had to do a separate call out in the outro for outfits.
Mm-hmm.
I think first, obvious choice, we have to start with Elena's dress.
Yeah, of course.
She looks so beautiful.
She does. It's so like old Hollywood glamour.
Yeah. Yes.
It's the most glamorous dress, I would say, in the episode. Maybe in the show. Maybe the whole show.
Yeah. No, it really could be. It's beautiful.
You know, the side swept hair, which
yes.
I
know
love.
what you're gonna say.
Rachel knows because I talk about this all the time. I don't know why, but I hate this, so I always talk about it. She has like the side swept curls that are on like one side of her. For some reason, consistently, when they do shots from behind her, she has one curl just down her back that's clearly, like, escaped the others.
Yep.
And I'm like, I just don't understand. Like, usually shows like this have a stylist that's constantly on set, like, you know, touching up makeup, fixing the hair. And then they'll do shots, like, when she goes into the dance with the boys, and her one strand, the one curl is down the back. I'm like, why couldn't we fix that? It would have been perfect. But it has bugged me ever since this episode came out of the one curl. It drives me wild.
It really bothers me too. And it's literally like the only thing that I...
Yeah. I know, because I love the black gloves. I love the color of this dress, how it's sort of this like bronzy...
Yeah, like...
I like my prom dress was very similar to this. I feel like I was inspired by this. Of like I liked the sort of
the black too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that she has black gloves. I love that they're like the long black gloves. I love the whole look.
Yeah, the smoky eye. I'm like, finally, it's appropriate.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if I would wear this dress. It's definitely very. It looks heavy.
It does look heavy. It does look heavy.
It's
a good way to put it.
But she looks great.
She looks beautiful.
Unfortunately, though, I don't think she's the winner of Best Dressed in this episode.
No.
It's Caroline. So. Of course, she got a princess's dress, so, you know, love that.
Of course. It's also just become so iconic, as we talked about at the top
I do
of the
think,
episode.
like, the blue on Candace Akla is so flattering.
It looks so stunning.
It's the perfect color for her.
Yes.
And then I like her sort of, like, shorter, shruggy gloves that are, like, a little bunched up. Like, they're really cute. Yeah. And, the beading of the dress in the middle is so beautiful. And the very, like... light tulle sleeves are so pretty.
Yeah, I also love that there's like, it looks like it's blue underneath, but then there's almost like a silvery grayish
there's so many tones to it.
Yeah, it's
very
not just
layered.
like a flat.
And hers looks like the type of dress you're like, I want to dance in that dress.
Yes,
I want to spin in that dress. Whereas Elena's, I'm like, I'd fall over. I would take out
it
whoever
must
I'm
be
dancing
heavy.
with.
Yeah.
Whereas hers just looks perfect for a dance.
Agreed.
And then she's got the perfect like tousled curls. That's like clearly like, you know, she had to get ready at home by herself quickly, but it looks so cute. And they both have like nice earrings and like Caroline has a small little necklace.
Yeah, and the bracelet.
And the bracelet.
Up into a point. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, she looks so good. And then of course Rippah would be the next one.
Oh my god. Yeah.
I love the green on her. I will say.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, I love the green. Though I will say when you see like a full shot of the dress, which I don't know if we ever really like
you don't really
do it justice like that in the episode. Yeah. It's kind of weird at the bottom.
It's like a little mermaidy.
Yeah.
It's not memorable, unfortunately.
No.
I do think
but the green
her
looks
dress
good.
gives a little bit more of like an elegant, mature, elevated look, which
it's
I do think
mature.
is the idea there of like she's kind of supposed to look a little bit more like grown and classy, whereas like, I don't know, Caroline's, I don't mean this in a diss way, but it almost gives like a Sherry Hill, like could have been, they like probably went and got it from some sort of prom person. And I think
it's possible.
My guess is they put in like some custom work on it. I don't know if that's true, but that's just my guess. Like it kind of looks like they could have gotten it somewhere else and added details to make it look more elevated. Whereas Rebecca's to me looks like a woman wore this to the like some New York gala. Like that's what she's giving.
It definitely
which
does,
I think works really well for Rebecca. And she has really classy like jewelry, you know, diamond necklaces and stuff on, which again suits her as opposed to the other girls.
Yeah. It's also interesting because I feel like they're doing like the same mature like kind of contrast with the dress with her hair.
Exactly.
She's got the
sleek,
pin straight, sleek. Yeah.
Yeah, but then she's got like this I don't
it's
even
like
know how to
clipped
describe
back.
it. Yeah, one side of her hair is like really sleek to her head and the rest has like slight volume to it. I really like her hair. Sometimes I hate it.
I know.
Portions of my life I hate it, and portions of my life I love it. I never know how to feel about it.
I know. I was thinking, I was like, this is the thing I should have saved like a poll for, which we could still do a poll.
We could do a poll on all the outfits.
This more than Elena's like Christian girl fall outfit.
Oh, yeah.
This I really go back and forth on. There have been times I've watched this episode, I'm like, I hate Rebecca's look. Like I hate the hair. Like it doesn't do it for me.
And other times I'm like, she's killing it.
Other times I'm like, that is fashion. Like she's showing up these high school girls and their curls. Like, I don't know.
Really
I go back and forth.
I do think I noticed it this time that I think the hair depends on the angle. Like the camera angle really makes a big difference. Because I noticed some shots it looked really weird. And then other shots I was like, oh, it looks beautiful. I see what they were doing. So I think it's just the kind of thing that is really made for certain angles.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I think it is too. I think you're probably right.
Other than that, we've got the moms. Carol and Esther.
Yes.
My two fave moms.
We can do Carol first real quick.
Yeah, just quick.
Yeah, because you don't get a ton of her dress, mostly just like the bodice. But I feel like they did her so dirty with that spaghetti strap. I'm like, it just feels like I don't know. It feels like Carol should have something more elevated as one of like
that's
a handful of the adults.
That's true. Her dress looked a little cheaper.
Whereas I was like, she definitely just picked this up at like a prom place.
And I also felt like she had like this big chunky necklace on that was a little cheesy, a little costumey. So it's kind of sad that they didn't like really go all out. But of course, she still looked nice.
She did. Yes.
But I think a good contrast is Esther, who I thought looked really nice.
Yeah,
again, like classy, motherly. Like she looked very I don't know, in charge of the whole event, which she is. Yeah. So it played out really well.
No, I agree. I feel like it's such a contrast between the two. It feels like Carol needed like a shawl or something like that.
Oh, which that's the other thing.
Which reminds me, actually, that wasn't even meant to be a segue, but that reminds me, Obviously, well, you were saying Elena, but I was going to say Caroline.
Yeah, both of them. So Elena has like a small little like wrap that she wears only when she comes in, and Damon carries it out for her. I don't like hers. I think the color didn't match the dress. It didn't do it. Her dress is so busy that it doesn't do anything for it.
In fact, it just doesn't need it at all. I agree.
Whereas Caroline's is so elevated by the little wrap that she wears, specifically in the scene with Klaus with the horse.
It looks so beautiful.
It softens it because it's kind of like a light blue, maybe white. And it just really like makes her look so like ethereal and like I really like that one.
Yeah, no, I agreed. And it feels like Carol needed something like that. Like
I agree.
I don't know. I just feel like I don't know, like being like an older woman and like the one like handful of adults, like one of the handful of adults, like
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. And again, the cheaper looking dress too. I think she needed something to sort of bring it up. But.
Exactly, which I think you could have like kind of compensated for with like a shawl or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's such a clear contrast between Esther, who's wearing like just a black dress, and it just has like a little like jeweled thing on one of the...
but it's like an off the shoulder with like both sleeves.
Yeah.
But it looks nice, and I like her hair down, just like kind of curled. No fuss, no muss.
Yep.
But she looks good.
Yeah.
Other than the girls, that's it for the women. Yeah. And then the guys, almost like an exact copy paste, every single person, black bow tie, except for Klaus, who has the white bow tie, which I really, really like. That he has the white bow tie and the white like vest.
Yes.
I really like his look. He stands out, which makes sense. It's Klaus. Like he's gonna be a little bit of a rebel because he's like the king.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's gonna look just a little bit better than everyone else.
Yeah,
I
think Stefan had a white vest too, though, and all the others had black. So it's kind of funny that Stefan also is like, I have to go a little rogue too.
Yeah, he's gotta match his boyfriend.
Of course. Yeah, just subtly. But yeah, everyone looks so good this episode. I love all the looks. It's one of the most memorable outfit episodes, like for sure.
I think so too. I think Caroline is my favorite if we're picking a favorite.
Oh, Caroline's definitely my favorite. So I will be bringing her up in the recap for the whole season because it's one of my favorite looks in the whole series.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Anyway.
We can move on to our deaths.
Yeah.
Because we can easily do away with them. There were none.
Yeah, no deaths for once. Surprisingly. Matt was pretty close, but saved.
Yeah, very shocking in the first ep with all the originals, but no deaths.
No deaths.
Some neck snaps for vamps, but
that's true, some vamp deaths.
No real deaths.
But Out of Pocket would have done differently. This one's a hard one because from the writer's perspective, I pretty much like everything. My only thing is the writer's making Damon and Rebecca hook up. I'm like, did we need it?
Okay, that's pretty out of pocket. Yeah.
It was out of pocket from them.
I feel like we have to go with that. I didn't really have anything at all. I was like, could maybe say this. But.
Yeah, the most out of pocket for me was Steph and Elena being cruel to Damon, like unnecessarily, but it's also like one of those, so serious. I
was going to say, that's out of pocket sad. So we're talking out of pocket happy.
Yeah, Damon and Rebecca hooking up. What the heck?
Which, not happy, but
not
you know
happy,
what I mean.
But out of pocket.
I think them hooking up is good. It was so out of nowhere and weird. Yeah. As for quotes, I feel like I liked literally every moment of dialogue.
So many good ones.
I know. I decided to just go with one thing that Klaus said to Caroline because I loved everything he said to her. Mm-hmm. But I'm just going with when they're talking about traveling the world, Klaus, without hesitating, just says, "I'll take you."
Oh, I really wanted to do something from the Klaus Caroline scene too, and I couldn't decide. So I didn't pick one, but I really liked that one. I went with a lot of funny ones, of course, as always. I loved Rebecca's drive much.
Okay, that was
so
good.
funny. It's
that
the delivery too.
Yeah.
And of course, Stefan, who the hell are the Mikaelsons? So funny.
That one did really make me laugh.
And Damon, can we go back in time to the old Stefan who cared if Elena lived or died?
Yeah.
That one's some realness, unfortunately.
Yep.
But the one that stuck out most to me, and I'm kind of surprised you didn't say it, is Damon. No, I'm mad at you because I love you.
I did think about doing that one. That was probably what I would have done. But I was just Klaus/Caroline.
I know. I was really tempted.
Yeah.
But I didn't think of any particular line as being
that's true
memorable.
But Damon's line does really pop out.
Especially the way he says it when he like
yelling at her.
Because I love
so passionate. Yeah. I'm good to go with that one. I really almost put it, but I was just like, for some reason on this watch especially, like Caroline were doing it for me so much more than anyone else.
You've been reading more romantasy.
Yeah, that's true.
So you're in the zone.
Yeah, I'm locked in on them.
I mean, it's not too late. We could go Rebecca drive much.
That's true. That's true.
Two of them.
Rebecca does deserve her flowers. I don't know if she'll ever get one, but
yeah, I think unfortunately we'll go Damon this
one. I think so too. Yeah.
But I think we have a lot to talk about with songs. So
oh my god.
Let's go there. I have 4 overall mentioned, and I think there were quite a few in the episode.
Yeah. I had a hard 3-way tie that I will not budge on.
Okay, I had a hard 2-way tie that you already know about because I've told you like a year ago. I was like, when we get to this episode, I know what song has to win, but I know what song I want to win. And I will not budge on those two being winners. But I'm really curious what your third could be because I have no idea between my 2 honorable mentions, which you could even like.
I will say... I say a 3 hard way tie, but it's really like 2, and then I still feel like the third is very iconic. But so maybe I'll give one an honorable mention.
Okay, well, do you have another honorable mention or no?
No, just my
Because I
hard
have another
three-way
honorable
tie.
mention, but I might hit your winner. Well, so I feel like we
there's
have
no
to
way.
honorable mention Devotion.
That was part of my 3-way tie.
Oh,
But that was the
interesting.
one I'm leaning more toward. It could just be an honorable mention.
Because I would think the other honorable mention is a better 3-way tie. But anyway, so Devotion by
Interesting.
Hertz featuring Kylie Minogue is when Elena arrives at the ball as Damon watches. It's obviously so lyrically perfect for the moment. It feels iconic to Delana in that way. It mentions, like, you know, temptation in the song, which, again, reminds me of 103, my favorite episode. So, yeah, I think that is a good one. For me, I just don't gravitate towards that song personally.
Yeah, I don't know if I would ever like go out of my way to listen to it, but as soon as I hear it come on, I'm like,
So
I know the moment. It's so
Yeah.
obvious. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
but see,
okay
in
with it
terms
being
of
just an honorable
songs
mention,
of the dance, it's not the one that wins.
I mean, there were so many.
There's so many. Well, the other honorable mention I had was Up in Flames by She Wants Revenge, because I really like She Wants Revenge. And it's when Damon and Rebecca make out at the end of the episode.
That was also good.
That sound to me sounds so TVD. It sounds so edgy. It sounds so grungy.
Yeah.
It feels like they would have used it in one of those promo shots of them like walking down the hallway.
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
it just, I really like that song, and that one to me, I was like, I thought maybe that was going to be your third winner, but no. Well, so what do you want to say? Is the obvious or?
I mean, I think we can save the obvious one for last because I feel like there's one we're all expecting will make the list, obviously.
Yeah.
So I think you can say the
next one.
The less obvious.
Well, so the less obvious that Rachel knows I feel passionately about is probably my favorite song I've ever found from Vampire Diaries. I listen to this song constantly. I put this song in our New Year's playlist. I put this song in every playlist I can ever get my hands on.
It's so good.
Short Change Hero by The Heavy, which is what plays when the originals are all getting ready together. It's such an iconic original song to me. Like, it is perfect originals vibes. The lyrics are perfect for them. It's like talking about how there's no place for a hero.
Yeah.
Like, producer Shay was talking about it. She was like, it's just funny to know this is probably like Klaus's music that's playing. And so this is just like his song. And he's probably listening to it. And he's like, this is so me.
This is so me right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's how I feel about all of the music that plays with Klaus. A lot of times it does feel like it's meant to be. He's playing it.
Yes.
And it's all just
like
so
Lonely
good.
Boy in the last one.
Yeah.
They have such a good pin on Klaus musically. And I love that it sounds diegetic. They make it sound like it's something they're actually listening to in that moment. Yeah, this was one to me that like I flagged a year ago where I was like, I don't care when we get to this episode. I know what the winner has to be. But that song is such a personal winner to me that I can't not make it a winner.
No, I mean, I would go with this song if this other song wasn't in it and if everyone wasn't like expecting this to be the winner because
of course.
like I was imagining like our playlist without this song on it and it's like it just feels incomplete.
We
like
lose all credibility forever.
Exactly. So as you all know, that song is Give Me Love by Ed Sheeran that
of course
obviously everyone is dancing to, but most specifically it looks like a Delana. Like I feel like I think of
I
them.
would think of it as a Caroline.
Interesting. I mean,
it plays during the whole scene.
It plays during all of them, so it is for both.
It's also Stelena too. It's Stelena.
That's true.
Foraline, whatever their name is. Yeah. No, wait, that's just her name. Matt and Caroline. Marilyn.
Ew. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I was thinking some of the lyrics worked so well when Stefan and Elena were dancing. It was like
it almost feels more well suited for them.
I know, but it works for all of them.
It really does, and it goes without saying that it is just one of the top 10 most memorable songs in the show. Period.
Of course,
point blank.
absolutely.
Like it is probably one of the biggest fan favorites for sure.
Definitely.
I used to love this album and this song at this time. Like this was such an iconic era. Like I remember playing this song like so much after this episode specifically. Yeah. Also remember when I played this at the talent show? That was crazy.
Oh my god.
But anyway, just a lore drop right there for you.
Yeah. Oh boy. Now I can't even focus. I can't. Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, that was a lore drop. But anyway, it's an iconic song. It was an easy win. But so I think, are we putting both "Give Me Love" and "Short Change Hero" in the?
I personally would feel sad if we didn't have it in there. So.
I know, it's just so perfect for the originals. I also feel like we get the cheat code of originals of being like one for the originals, one for Vampire Diaries.
So true. That's so true. I think that's a good rationale.
It is a good rationale. Yeah. So I guess we will be adding both "Short Change Hero" and "Give Me Love" to our Song of the Episode playlist, where we have all of the winners of every best song to this point.
Yep.
And we also have a season 3 specific playlist that is all of the winners, all of the honorable mentions. So you can just listen to everything that we've loved from season 3 so far. And yeah, you can also find that linked in our various bios and descriptions, along with our Instagram and our TikTok, where we always post memes and polls and all sorts of things that you can interact with and just get more in touch with people who also love the Vampire Diaries like us. So
yeah. And you can keep listening to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or you can watch the video version on YouTube if you want to see our outfits or whatever we're up to, our facial expressions. So join us next week for season 3, episode 15, All My Children.
Yeah, originals drama.
Yeah, I was going to say another banger.
Yeah. So thanks for watching and or listening to this one. Bye.